Hey everybody! Sorry I'm late. Sorry we're late. It's my fault. I don't know if you can see or not, but my eye is kind of swollen shut. So yeah, it's been an interesting morning, night, evening, all that fun stuff. But we're here. We made it. Almost all of us, that is. You'll notice that we have Smelly Goats. Awesome avatar there. Joining me. Oh wait, let's turn off this silly thing. Turn that dumb thing off. There we go. All right. Hi. It's time for the four Beardsmen. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Well, two of them, anyways. We're going to start with the PhD Tony.
Hello, how is everybody? How are you, JL?
I am good, sir. I am good this morning.
Excellent. We, of course, were thrilled by your appearance on rockmetaltalk.com
Yeah.
yesterday. It was an event of some caliber. Why did your phone blow up that way?
Was it? What do you mean?
You were saying that for those who aren't in on this show.
I have push notifications on Discord.
Right. Okay.
So.
All right.
But yes, for those not in the for those who weren't tuned into the show, is that Johnny O runs the plot hole every Friday night, and Friday night this starting on Friday is when I alternate going on call with my service manager. So I'm on call, he's on call, so on and so forth. And I happened to go on call. Well, I got home after work and I was getting ready. I was going to jump on and help Johnny out with the show. And I got a call like almost immediately to go out and handle a pretty big situation that took forever to work on. So I hadn't eaten. I was hungry. I was pissy. I was tired, and I'm trying to fix this situation for this resident. And all of a sudden, I'm like right in the middle of it. My phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, why the heck am I getting notifications like one after the other, like boom, 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 and I was like, what the fuck? So eventually I got to a point where I could step outside and I pulled my phone out and I got this guy talking the gnarliest smack I've seen come out of someone his age's mouth.
Whoa. It's pretty good smack.
And it was good. It was salty. Like he was like he was born of the fucking sea or some shit. And then I got Jessica G.
What you don't realize,
going
JL,
in there with the fucking flags.
What you don't realize is that that's what Cthulhu looks like when he shaves his beard.
And so Jessica G's in there on the runway, just like bringing them in, one after the other. And I'm like, what the fuck? So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break real quick. I'm going to step outside and I'm going to respond to some of this shit. So I started getting salty, and I mean, as anybody can tell, I'm much better when I'm writing. I'm so much better when I'm writing. When I'm off the cuff, I'm not good. And Team Skeptic lets me know all the time how not good I am off the cuff. But I am good when I'm writing. If I've got a script in front of me, I'm solid. And so I'm sitting here writing it, just hitting back as hard as I can. So
it was a good chat.
It was good. Fun. It was good enough. I think Jessica G might have finally given me some points on the board.
I don't know, Jessica. What do you think? Did he get points?
We'll have to. She's a harsh judge. That's all.
She is.
So I guess Irish is on his way. He had to go.
That's what he says. But who trusts an Irishman?
Aren't you an Irishman? I mean,
sort of. If you're going to count something like 7 generations ago, sure.
Right,
but my family have been in Australia since like the 1860s. So I think any claims to Irishness I have are pretty fucking tenuous, actually.
So your family had been in Australia since Australia was Australia.
Yeah, since before Australia was Australia.
Yeah.
We didn't become Australia until New Year's Day 1901.
See.
Before that, we were just a collection of...
I hear an Irish demon.
Ah.
No, I don't. No, sorry. False alarm. It was PhD Tony, I guess.
Man, so my dog is in here feeling guilty and trying to get my attention because he knows that he's in some trouble because he went outside and he knows better, but he wrangled with a possum out in the backyard.
Uh-oh.
And I caught him, and it was a good sized one, probably 3.5 feet long from nose to tail. And so he got a hold of it, and he was treating it like it was a squeak toy. So he was trying to squeak it, and I was like, God damn it! So I run at the dog, and I was just like, yeah, leave him alone. And he's like, oh, he slinked away because he was feeling guilty, and the possum's laying there like, ah. I was like, God damn it! I hope he didn't kill this possum because I like possums around. They're very good to have around the house.
Yes, don't kill possums. They eat ticks and fleas and bugs and shit.
And they don't get rabies.
Well, they do, but it's very rare.
So I'm like, yeah, these things are amazing. I don't want him to kill him. So Jingle's like, he's got like possum fluff hanging out of his mouth. I'm like, God dang it! And
did you say Jingles?
Yeah, it was the big one. So he's got like possum fur clumps hanging out of his mouth, and I'm like, you stupid dogs! They go in the house. So I'm sitting there watching the backyard through the window, and I'm so hoping to see it. And sure enough, after about 10 minutes, that possum got back up, like looked around, and then trundled off like nothing happened. Because possums, for all their stupidity, possums are hard as fuck. And that possum's like, yeah, it's everyday occurrence. I get torqued up by a dog. I don't care. Right. It just kind of slid underneath the gate and just didn't even run. Just like got up, looked around, sniffed around, ate something on the ground, and then it just trundled away. I was like, okay, cool, he's good. Yep. But he knows he's not supposed to be tangling with the wildlife. He knows this.
Well. And he is duly repentant. Yep. I'm certain. That's one of the things about dogs, and to some extent cats. Cats do know when they've done something wrong.
Cats don't give a shit.
They don't really give a shit until they need something. But if they know they've done something wrong and they need something, then they can, sort of try and manipulate what they think. Yes. Jessica G, yes, honey badgers are probably more robust than...
Well, that's a fucking honey badger.
Yes, it is a honey badger, yeah.
Yeah, and they're kind of mean, too.
They are kind of mean.
Yeah. A honey badger will take on a lion. Honey badger don't give a fuck.
Well, this is the old prey versus lunch. Have you heard this one?
Yeah.
The prey versus lunch dichotomy. So if a lion or a tiger or some sort of predator is up against a prey animal, the prey animal is fighting for its lunch, and the predator is the prey animal is fighting for its life, and the predator is fighting for lunch. Mm-hmm. So the predator is not willing to put as much skin into the game as the prey animal is. So a relatively minor injury to an eye or a tooth or a leg could kill a predator because they just can't hunt.
Yep.
If that happens to them, so they've got to actually be a bit careful. So there's this sort of weird arms race in how stroppy a really big predator is prepared to be as opposed to a tiny predator, who has nothing to lose from just going berserk. And just throwing it all into the ring. You want to throw it down with me? Sure.
Yeah, right. Nerd Angle, yes, possums can get rabies. It's just extremely rare. Extremely rare.
And a little bit of trivia, the reason for that is because their body temperatures are so low.
Yep.
And Little Wolf says, possums are squishy. And, you say it... Possums are robust. They're very, very they're thickness. But it was weird to see Jingles. When I realized he was tangling with something, and I was like, "What the heck is the dog got?" Because he was on the other side of the garden shed, and so he's like going back and forth like he's got. So like, oh, son of a bitch! I think he got himself a rabbit. Because occasionally we get rabbits that try to get into our vegetable garden, and they occasionally will hide from us underneath the shed. So I think, oh crap, he got himself a rabbit. And it was like, no, he got himself a possum, a fairly large one at that. And I was like, God dang it. But when he grabbed it and I could see what he was doing, he was treating it like a squeak toy. Like he was like, he wasn't trying to rip it apart. He was just like, he had it and he gave it like 4 good bites, like he was trying to make it squeak, and then he dropped it because it was like, it doesn't squeak. It was like, well, no, it doesn't squeak, you dumbass. And he was like, then he'll try it again. And he was like, I was like, no, stop biting the damn thing. But from what I could tell, he didn't even injure the possum. He didn't like tear it up. There was no blood on him, no blood on the possum, no blood. And once it walked away, no blood on the concrete out on the driveway. So yeah, I think he thought it was a fucking squeak toy.
Maybe he did.
He was like, "Oh yay!" And it doesn't squeak. This sucks.
Clive Wells dutifully reports that there are no cases of possums with rabies in the UK.
Yeah, it's extremely rare.
Well, there are no possums in the UK. That's the joke.
I beg to differ, Clive.
Okay.
Let me check. I'm looking at your zoo population.
They may have some sort of possums there, but probably not American possums.
That's cool. No, there are no possums held in public collections within the United Kingdom. Very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. The closest relative of a possum held anywhere is a sugar glider?
Yep.
Cool.
So sugar. I have a friend. I grew up in a city called Newcastle, and have a friend who lived there, who lived on the side of a hill that had basically sort of a bit of bush. It was a very steep hill and had a bit of bush going down the back. Every night they'd leave out bread and honey for the possums and the sugar gliders. And the possums and the sugar gliders would come up and eat the honey and bread and then go away. And there were a variety of possums. There was some of the little ring-tailed possums and some of the bigger possums. This
is sounding very Tolkien.
Yeah.
I had a friend who lived in the side of a hill, and he would put out bread and honey for the possums.
Yep. Next thing is it tells about how the dew on the grass. And then 17 pages later, we're going to get past the dew on the grass.
And yesterday, I celebrated my 111th birthday.
Look, fuck you both. Irish Demon isn't here. Somebody's got to do the boring bit.
That's true. This is true.
Until Irish turns up, I'm going to take it on myself to be the boring one. And, I'm pretty good at it naturally, but... So just to tip, nobody.
Oh shit!
It's all right. I'm here. Calm down. Fucking hell!
You gotta warn somebody. Start
the show.
That,
we can start the show, ladies and gentlemen.
So
we've heard enough of JL eating possums.
No. It's not JL eating possums. It's JL eating possum ass.
Are you sure?
Exactly.
Are you sure you can join us? Shouldn't you be off at your fucking premiere?
Yeah, I thought you had a premiere.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just explain what happened there. You keep asking. So
you fucking prima donna.
We had a wonderful stream. Listen, we had a wonderful stream last night. Myself, my friend Tay, and Tony, and it got nuked because I played some footage that I shouldn't have. Nothing naughty, just some footage that I shouldn't have. And I downloaded it, edited it, and re-uploaded it, set the time, whatever. And I clicked Premiere, but I forgot not to click Premiere because usually I premiere everything. And then it was too late when I realized it was like almost loaded, and it's a 2.5-hour stream. So it takes forever to load. It's actually still loading right now. So I'm like, I can't unpremiere it. So if I unpremiere it, I have to delete the video and re-upload it. So I was like, fuck that. So I'm just going to go in the chat and tell everybody to come here instead. And that's my story.
And you're sticking to it?
I'm sticking to my guns. Kind of like that time that Mrs. Demon put glue all over my rifles. Sticking to my guns.
It was literally as fascinating as we have come to expect. It was adrenaline filled.
It was. It was.
Hey, why
It
do you
was
sound like you're in a can?
Who, me?
No. You sound good. You sound PhD sexy. Irish sounds like he's in some sort of can.
Is it still like that? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, you're not using your actual good mic. You're using the mic on your webcam, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Jesus, Irish. Develop some technical competencies.
I'm telling you, right? Him and what's coming, right? I spent an hour of my life that I'm never getting back watching him and Professor Phil Bell, like, two of the most intelligent people I've ever encountered in my life, and they can't figure out how to use a fucking microphone.
No, that's not what was going on.
You guys lost to a bunch of emus, so I'm not sure how far that really goes. You know, just
that's a fair point.
It's not that we failed. It's that the designers of OBS can't make intuitively useful software.
Yeah,
I agree with.
Yeah,
I agree with wholeheartedly.
Hey, look, if Johnny O's dumbass can figure it out, you can.
Whoa.
That's all I'm saying. No, I can't figure it
Whoa.
out. I can't figure it out. So, hey, you know, when you mentioned raccoon, was it a raccoon?
It was a
No,
possum.
it was a possum.
Oh, possum. When you mentioned possum fluff, I thought you were talking about Tony's beard. You're like, possum fluff coming out of his mouth. I was like, no, that's just his beard. Or lack thereof.
No, come on. His beard is looking very distinguished.
That's right.
It actually does. It's a bit.
And it doesn't look like red pill philosophy at all.
Not at all.
It looked fucking.
Yeah.
It looks like. Hey, it looks like he drank milk wrong.
Oh, come on. It looks very distinguished. Like this is all you need is a tweed jacket, and you're definitely a professor.
And a pipe. And a pipe.
And a
with elbow patches.
Yes.
Elbow patches.
Yes.
I would do it. Yeah. So all attributes that my dad had, actually.
The tweed jacket, really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
With the elbow patches, he was and pipes and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I never went for any of that.
No, I mean, look, your style is your style. You know, you got the football jersey on right now, yes? Or is that the rugby?
Nope, that's cricket. Oh, thank you.
God damn.
I knew it was going to be one of those. It was either going to be football, rugby, or cricket, and I went with
cricket. Is the most boring.
Oh,
it's the most boring sport on the planet. Like,
yes.
I think you say that because you can't play it.
Looking back, I can see that this is actually divinely ordained, because the fact that I played cricket and like cricket gives me a store of anecdotes that are somewhat, not quite, but somewhat near as boring as your stories are.
All right, welcome to the Shots Fired Beardsman show.
Cricket player.
Right.
Is that 6 runs? Is that 6 runs?
I accidentally happened upon a cricket match one day. I was out for a walk and I saw them playing, and I thought they were playing hurling. And I went over there, and I was just standing there, and the guy came over and was like, "Oh, they're like up 6 wickets." I was like, "Yay! Is that good?" Or it's like, "Oh, it's 6 wickets and 4 overs and 49 points." I'm like, "So who the fuck is winning?" Like,
the blokes over there winning. The ones with the bats.
Everybody goes like, "Yay! Everyone wins! Yay!" For fuck's sake.
I saw a documentary about Royal Tennis. Have you ever seen Royal Tennis?
Mm-mm.
It's a sort of a very primitive form of tennis that's played in an enclosed quadrangle. on a clay court, and you can hit it up onto the roof and do various other things. And there's netting around to sort of keep the ball out. And they had like the world champion of Royal Tennis watching this game, and the game's finished, and he's applauded like just there applauding. And he's turned around to the scorer. So who won? Going, you're the world fucking champion, and it isn't obvious to you who won the game. Like that tells me this is a game of some obscurity. If you're watching a game, you should have some idea who the fuck won it. But,
absolutely.
Apparently,
not.
Nerd Angle would like to say, you thought baseball was boring? May I present to you cricket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baseball is the more exciting cricket.
No, it isn't.
Hell, it
It
isn't.
really isn't.
Okay,
it really
look, baseball is the quicker cricket, and that's saying something. Because
I
baseball
will
is 3 hours
I
a
will
game.
say that a baseball game can actually get really, really exciting. But
when you
specific things have to be happening in the game. It's got to be a tight race. It's got to be in the back innings. Typically, there's situations in baseball that are highly charged. But more often than not, when you're good, like first through 7, you're kind of like hot dog, beer. I need to get myself to the fucking 9th.
Shit. Yeah. I love going to I love baseball. That's my sport. I've always been a baseball fan. I could watch it on TV. I could watch it live. I could play, whatever. But I understand that people people think that watching a baseball game is like watching grass grow or paint dry.
So you're not a
Monkey in the Works would like to say baseball is just rounders with obsessive statistics bolted on.
That's true.
It's kind of like I find cricket is like a cross between baseball and a coma.
Irish, you sound like ass.
Yeah. Well,
I couldn't tell the difference.
I don't know why you're saying that as though it's news. Which show is this? And suddenly you're sharing it with him? Jesus.
Jessica G would say, "You thought cricket was boring. May I present to you Irish Demon Stories?"
Cricket I can't defend cricket to anybody who didn't grow up with it. If you didn't grow up with it, it's meaningless to you. You're not going to enjoy it, and don't even try. Would be my advice.
What was that? What was that movie with? Oh fuck! What the hell's his name? Dan from Roseanne. What is his name?
John Goodman.
John Goodman. What was that John Goodman movie?
John Goodman.
Where he is the last, like this movie starts out where it's the royal family taking a picture and they all get electrocuted and die, and he's
King Ralph.
King Ralph. That was my introduction to cricket.
Right.
And obviously nobody other than JL has seen this movie because none of you two get it.
No, I've seen it.
He's trying to knight the guy. He hits him in the fucking ear.
Yep. 2 seconds, or else the dog's in.
Has John Hurt and Lawrence of Arabia, Peter O'Toole,
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a. It was a fun film. I actually quite liked it.
Peter O'Toole, legendary actor.
Yep.
And I think Phantoms was like his last movie.
Right.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I came across some Peter O'Toole footage recently, some interviews he did, and apparently, apparently he was doing some play, and I forget which one it was, and his dressing room had a hand basin in it, and he went back to his dressing room and he was urinating into the hand basin, and he heard this voice behind him, and it was actually Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn had been in the audience and had come backstage to say hello, and she'd walked up behind him while he was urinating in the basin. And he's not exactly sure if she caught on, but he had to sort of juggle himself back into the enclosure and pretend that he'd just been washing his hands. It was he was something of a character, Peter O'Toole.
I've heard that he was a bit of a hellraiser, while he was off stage. That he could tie one on and he kicked some ass. So, not in the the Brian Blessed or Oliver Reed way, but I'm sure that those guys were amazing to hang out with, especially Oliver Reed.
Oh yeah. Oliver Reed tragically drank himself to death on the set of Gladiator.
Yes, he did.
Such is life.
The stories I have read about, when he would go to a bar and he would that was the problem, is that everybody loved Oliver Reed when he wasn't drinking. So it's like when he was clean, he was a great guy to be around, and he was still a good actor. He didn't need to be hammered to be a good actor, so he was solid even when he wasn't drinking. But when he was drinking, he was an even better actor. He was he was able to emote better or just whatever. But he could go into a bar and he could kill like 12 hours straight, just drink after drink after drink, and he would come out, and then that's when everybody. I think it was Christopher Lee, who said that he respected Oliver for his talent, but when he tied one on, he was one of the most vicious sons of bitches you could ever run into. And that's Christopher Lee, coming from that man. I was like, what? That's from a dude who cut his teeth in the trenches of the Somme. I gotta, that says something about Oliver Reed. That dude, he was a righteous prick when he got in his cups.
Yeah. Undoubtedly so. He was actually, from memory, I recall that he was somewhat offended by the suggestion that he should have to audition for his role in Gladiator.
I'd heard that I never was able to get like a super confirmation on that, but I did hear that there were complications with Oliver's drinking and his kind of his attitude in general. I still think he turned in a fantastic performance. I loved him as Proximo, and I thought it worked. But I mean, you're gonna have actors. I mean, I've heard worse stories like stories of Klaus Kinski, Natasha Kinski's father.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard stories about him. There was a movie he did called Crawl Space. It was a horror film he did called Crawl Space. And he was just off his fucking whatever. God, he was insane because he was playing like the son of a Nazi doctor, and apparently he went full method with it and just lost his mind on set and was just a monster to deal with. So,
it is one of the drawbacks of method acting, and it does seem a bit sad, but I'm surprised as a horror film aficionado, if we're bringing up the subject of drunk actors, that you haven't brought up Richard Burton in The Exorcist 2.
Because I try to forget that The Exorcist 2 actually fucking exists. Just like, I mean, I try to relegate it to the space as to why there isn't a second Highlander. Because Highlander just goes from 1 to 3, and I don't know why they did that. It's weird. It's weird that it would go 1 to 3. I mean, 1 was solid by itself. 3
it's
was
weird
was
that it
pretty...
would be. There's a need for sequels of Highlander. Period.
Yeah, it's true, but I don't know why they skipped 2. So I try to relegate shit that I don't like. Like I try to relegate shit that I don't like. I try to stick it in that area. Like sequels that I really fucking hate, I put it in the hole where Highlander 2 should have been, because I don't know why it doesn't exist.
So Jessica G brings up a not unrelated point about a particular sequel that she has mentioned to you before, I think.
Oh my god.
So Hellraiser 3 is not one of the sequels that you have assigned to the dustbin of history.
Terry Farrell was Jensea and Dax. Terry Farrell is hot as fuck. I like watching Terry Farrell.
Look, this is
I like watching Terry Farrell kick ass. I like watching Terry Farrell because she's hot as fuck.
Look, frankly,
She is nice to look at.
Frankly, well, I don't have an image for that particular name, but it's kind of like so that makes it kind of like Underworld, right? So Underworld has a lot going for it, provided by a lot you mean Kate Beckinsale in a bodysuit.
There you go.
Because apart from that, it's got fuck all, right? It's really just terrible.
They're not, dude. Rise of Lycans was pretty good. Michael Sheen is in it. There's a lot of talent in those films. Kate Beckinsale, Michael Sheen, Bill Nighy, just a bunch of people that I really, really respect and I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching them. The plot is weak. The script is weak, but you at least have talented actors delivering a weak script, and you have some decent effects. It's not bad. It's not there. I've seen worse. Trust me, I've seen worse.
Yes, course you've seen worse. That's hardly the point. Yeah, compared to poking my eye out with a knitting needle, it's not a bad film.
Right. It's like that scene in Son-in-Law where Carla Gambino asks if it hurts, and then Flea says it's better than getting kicked in the face with a golf shoe.
There you go. And of course, Jessica Underworld is phenomenal for an atrocious pile of shit. And Nerd Angle says Kate Beckinsale in a bodysuit does Kate Beckinsale in a bodysuit does make Underworld a winner for me. And it's a good thing. I mean, Kate Beckinsale is smoking hot. She could put on a leather bodysuit. She could act like a disassociated vampire or whatever. I don't know.
I thought she was a werewolf.
No, she's a
vampire.
She's a vampire, but now she's a hybrid, and it gets really wonky.
See, that's why I can't do them movies.
But then they started calling them hybrids because they called them abominations, and then they got sued by White Wolf because abomination is their term for the vampire werewolf hybrid. So it was whatever. I saw the first Underworld in theaters. I enjoyed it. And I was like, this is good. This is good. Just fun. Just like Resident Evil. Resident Evil's not going to win any fucking awards, but I like seeing Mila Jovovich run around kicking the shit out of things.
See, that's another one I just never got. I don't understand the Mila Jovovich. I never understood that one. She's not attractive.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
She's the Fifth Element.
Yeah, that was the worst part about the Fifth Element to me. There you go, PSG Tony. There is Terry Farrell.
You need to get it. Okay.
Why hasn't this shown up in an unpopular opinion? Mila Jovovich is not hot. Are you out of your mind?
I didn't think it was that unpopular.
That's my girl, Terry. That's Jadzia Dax, right?
This is the problem. Like, the vast majority of women are actually quite attractive, right?
This is true. I would tend to agree with this.
And I feel like it's kind of unfair. Guys are pretty much
not
ugly. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I am prettier than this man. But I mean, I was like, wow, Mila Jovovich. I mean, this is an unpopular. Nerd Angle says yes. This is an unpopular opinion. Johnny O.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah, Johnny O. That is an unpopular opinion.
Why is that? I mean,
you're not going to get.
Just like there is a thing. I mean, I know beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but there is an objective societal standard of what is beautiful, and she certainly falls in the margin of beautiful.
I guess. I mean, she's not hideous. She's not ugly. I don't think she's, just fucking.
Well, she's not hideous.
Who are you talking about?
Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, I like the fact, like we, for fantastically aesthetic samples of masculinity. Yeah, I'm sure.
They call me the sex machine.
I'm reminded of the Full Monty. Well, it's a good thing women don't have the same attitude that we do, because they'd say he's old, he's fat.
Do you know, can I just interject for a quick sec? Just talking about pretty ladies. So there's a fantastic show on Netflix at the moment called The Crown. And there's a bit of an issue for Irishmen watching The Crown. So basically, there's an actress called Gillian Anderson, OBE, who is she plays Margaret Thatcher in The Crown, right? And she does a fucking phenomenal job. She just everybody in that show just does an awesome job. But here's the problem:
Gillian Anderson,
right?
Yeah.
Listen,
the Killing. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, here's the thing, right? She was Would you shut the fuck? She was
The Fall.
Here's the thing, right? When she played Scully in fucking Jesus in
the X-Files,
X-Files.
Go on. Can we move this along?
It's a massive sex.
Well, we're trying to spice up your story before people fall asleep.
Not working.
How about you mention her with the fact that she was in? Are you crying?
No.
But she was amazing. She was amazing in American Gods.
I don't care. I don't give a shit. Listen.
But she's in The Crown. Right? Yes, she plays Margaret Thatcher.
Sorry, Margaret Thatcher. Crown. Go.
All right, so she's in The Crown, and she plays Maggie Thatcher, and she's amazing at it. But here's the problem for Irishmen. Irish people hate Margaret Thatcher. It's just been one of those things, the troubles, all the rest of it. So here's the dilemma that I've read right across the board from Irishmen. When she was Scully, they all had the super hots for her. But now she's Margaret Thatcher, and they're really annoyed by their strange sexual attraction to Margaret Thatcher. An Irish super dilemma. Like, it is just an Irish super dilemma. It's like, Maggie Thatcher's got a bit of game. Oh, yeah. The Iron Lady.
So, have you considered telling your countrymen that there is such a thing as fiction?
Yes.
There's no such fiction in Ireland. Only reality. The pursuit of the 32 counties and all that shit. I've actually got my 1916 commemoration jumper on as we speak. It was the closest thing to me. What's for fuck's sake about that?
Well, I mean, the Easter Uprising. If you're going to remember, it was a bit of a clusterfuck all round. It was
a massive clusterfuck. It was one of the greatest things in our history, but also one of the most least well put together things that we've ever done as a country. We did get a lot of really good songs out of it.
Yeah, I guess ultimately, it did. It sort of all it all evened out in the end, but it was really not. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of. I don't want to go down that road because actually, there's a lot of really ugly politics that comes out of the Irish. It leads into the Civil War and that's Michael Collins. The troubles and stuff. Yeah.
So I don't. Little Wolf says I like redheads.
Hey, actually, just try this, right? I'm gonna start with you, Johnny O. Okay. Try to read what Tusk said.
I can't see it very well.
Tafara.
It sounds like the.
Yeah, you go first.
No, I fucked that up.
No, you were really close.
Tafara Allah?
Very close.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, is there a CH sound at the beginning of that?
Yeah, Chuck and then Hig. Chucky Gerlaw. It means our day will come. It's the slogan of the Irish Republicans. But Chucky Gerlaw. Right, some Americans pronounce it as Chucky Arlaw, and they spell. I saw a guy with a tattoo that said Chucky Arlaw, spelled CHUCKY Arlaw. Stupidest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. But
you know the American slogan, "Cash me outside."
That is not an American slogan. Fucking Jesus Christ.
That's gonna be the next president's campaign slogan.
Cash me outside.
We are the United States of America. Cash me outside. How about it?
God damn it.
That's what I'm talking about. When she's old enough to be pregnant.
I had this employee that watched Dr. Phil religiously at work. And I kept, like dropping subtle hints like we're not going to do that. I don't A, fuck Dr. Phil because he's a hack. B, you're at work and you need to be working. C, fuck Dr. Hill because he's a fucking hack. But yeah, religiously. And then that fucking episode was on and he was just glued to the TV. I'm like, dude, you realize she's 13 years old, right? She's a fucking idiot. Just my goodness.
Yeah. I'm not for corporal. I'm not one for excessive corporal punishment like my father did to me. But I'd have taken a belt to her ass.
It didn't work. Her mother beat the shit out of her.
Oh no! Well, her mother wasn't doing it right.
There's no such thing as doing it wrong or doing it right when it comes to beating your children.
There is. Yes, there is.
When
you wake them up, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my personal experience. But when you get woken up with an extension cord. That tends to alter your perspective a little bit. Rearrange your priorities.
So welcome everyone to the How to Beat Your Child stream. It wasn't originally intended to that, but we hope that the instructional advice.
I'm not
the
saying
hard
it's
one.
right.
No. You've said something. I'm going to advertise it now. Apparently we have all been beating our children wrong, and JL is going to give us an in-depth discussion of how to do it correctly.
Well,
there you go.
There's no.
Over to you, JL.
Johnny is correct. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There is excessive and too little. There's too little and too much. If you don't do it enough to get the point across, but if you do it so much that you're just doing it to hurt the person, you got to find the middle ground. And my father,
we're going to put a pin in this because Irish Demon needs to make a quick announcement.
Yeah, guys, I have to give a massive apology. I know I was late and now I have to bunk out. Just something very important has just come up and it's something I've really got to deal with urgently. And I hope I'll be back before the end of the stream. I'm very sorry, guys. Thank you all so much for turning out. I am sorry. I know the stream's going to be shit from now on, but sorry about that, guys. I hope I'll get back in time before the end, but if not, thank you so much. I'm sorry again, guys. Take care. See ya.
Take care of yourself, Irish.
And so my father, as I got large, because I'm a fairly big guy, but I was big when I was a kid. I was a big little kid, and I got larger as went on, and so my dad just like using his hand just didn't work anymore. I'd gotten too big, so I basically he graduated me. So then it went to the belt, then it went to the wire hanger, then it went to the switch from outside, the like just a tree, a tree limb. Then it went to the the green switch, the one that's got flexibility, the one that won't break. Then it was like the electrical cord. Then it was the cheese board. Then the cheese board with the holes in it, and then the belt
paddle.
Buckle.
Not cheese board, it's a paddle.
Well, it was the board that my mother cut cheese on, and then because he pulled it out of the kitchen, then the extension cord was probably one of the worst. The belt buckle itself, going after with that, and eventually just straight up fisticuffs. When I got large enough to really defend myself, it would just turn into that.
Well, yeah. Okay, so I do. My dad wasn't necessarily the nicest, but being the eldest child, I ended up being quite obedient. And it was down to the younger children to sort of exercise his anger. I didn't really, whilst I was talking you up, I didn't really intend for us to go into a detailed discussion of this.
Goddamn, it was hot. Sorry.
So were you just abused by somebody?
No, myself. I just made myself a steaming cup of fucking chai, and I took a drink, and that was very, very hot. I feel like Rick Moranis.
The Japanese have a... I hate hot drinks. So this is... I don't drink coffee and I don't drink tea.
Or any
or at least not... Any of what?
Sorry, that was a Flaming Lips reference.
Yeah, I had an accident as a child, and I spent 6 months unable to eat solids.
Oof.
When I was about 11, and as a result, I just came out and gone, okay, I'm not eating soup, and I'm not eating anything that's hot. Any hot liquids, they're all because every day it was the same. I'd be given a thermos of soup to take to school, and I'd sit all on my own inside the courtyard, open it up, and of course there would be this blast of steam that would scald my hand. And I've just gone, okay, if I have the opportunity to avoid this from now on, I'm going to. It's just not happening. So
Daniel Pratt's water heater picked up he got the song.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Sorry. I'll play it for you for you guys next week on the plot hole.
Okay. I'm sure I've heard it. I just probably wasn't paying attention to the lyrics.
Because the Flaming Lips they're a bit obscure. They fall into that prog rock kind of thing, and if you're not into prog rock, like hardcore prog rock, like yes, you're not gonna. It's not something that most people will get. They came out of the probably early '90s, I think, is when they got their start. Tony is a walking ironic contradiction. If you think about it, he went bald on his head before his balls even dropped. He's also 80 years older than his actual age. Well,
there you go. It's
Dr.
not
Tony,
too far.
you look amazing for your age then.
Okay. Well, it's I have to say so genetically they say that it's your maternal grandfather whose baldness characteristics, but I was screwed either way. Both of my grandfathers, maternal and paternal, were bald by the time they were 27. So there was no chance. Like I lasted for a while, but yeah, the genetic odds were stacked against me. Team Skeptic is in the chat.
Team Skeptic is in here.
No shit.
I'm going to type a greeting to him, though he doesn't deserve it.
Careful, you want to jump in here and take the stream.
You know what?
Well,
we're all a bunch of clout fucking chasers anyway, so what?
Well, yes. Well, we had an absolutely fascinating discussion about Lebesgue measures and distance metrics last week. So this is how could it possibly go worse? But it's there is a lot of. One of the things that has come up a couple of times is, and it came up yesterday on Irish's stream, is the fact that a lot of people don't end up very well qualified to actually be parents. And it's not necessarily their fault that they didn't end up qualified to be parents. They went through their own childhoods, they had their own experiences. But I kind of think that actually we should start sort of systematizing it, like, actually give people some training in how to raise a child.
I don't know, man. So that's tough, right? To tell people tough. Because
it is tough.
There's a lot of things that you learn on the fly that you have to learn on the fly, right? Like nobody ever tells you, hey, you might have a child with Downs. This is how you deal with a child with Downs, or you might have a child who has ADHD, or you might have a child who, like I do, is autistic, and you won't really know, and this is what you're gonna have to deal with on the medical side of that issue or societal side of that issue. That's really tough. I mean, because we have in high school we have like home economics and whatnot that goes through child rearing, and there's that project we have to take the baby home and all that mess. I don't know if you could really do like a proper parenting class, because what works with one kid doesn't work with the other kid.
Yeah. Very much, and it's not the case that sort of I studied some historiography, and there is a suggestion, sort of the works of Foucault obtained a lot of currency, that everything was culture dependent, that there was nothing that was culture independent. And one of the axioms of that is that basically children will have their culture imposed on them. And it kind of overlooks the fact, have you ever tried imposing something on a kid? It doesn't fucking work.
Right.
They're not just blank slates. They're their own beasts, and they will make their own decisions, and they will take the bits of culture that they want, and they will leave aside the bits of culture that they don't want.
What was it? What did Jessica G say there? It feels much better now without JL and Johnny O's pieces shoved down it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I couldn't have team with ball. Okay. But she's again. I will join a stream if Jessica G is in the chat, just because she's a funny lady.
Yep. She's a riot.
But yeah. Actually, Clive Wells, I was tempted to start talking about Cantor sets last week when in discussion with Team Skeptic, but we didn't get there. So that's a set of Lebesgue measure 0 with an infinite number of.
You just said a lot of words in English, and I speak and understand English, but I don't know what the fuck you just said.
Well, yes. Fine. Go ahead.
No, not at all. I'm letting you know my ignorance when it comes to the subject of mathematics.
Well, this is the thing. Like, there's a if you're going to start asking sort of awkward questions about the stuff that you learn, actually, you do need to understand what a Lebesgue measure is and how metric spaces work. If you want to understand calculus.
Oh, damn! I gotta take a piss.
Oh, come on! Give the guy his due.
No. I'm fucking with it. That look on your face. Oh, but seriously, I do have to pee.
Yeah, I know you do. Because you would never have dared interrupt my lecture.
Brilliant story.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but anyway, you should feel free to go nicturate at your leisure. But yeah, it's one of the things that flat earthers do is that they say, well, what about this next level? What about this next level? And it's not that the next level hasn't already been considered, hasn't already been resolved. It's just that really nobody has any reason to know this shit except for the obscure academics who do. And they've got better things to do than explain it to you useless sack of shit.
I would like, but see, you're one of the academics, you and Professor Phil Bell, that do explain this stuff. Although I asked a very interesting question, at least I think it's interesting because, again, I'm stupid when it comes to, well, not stupid, but I'm ignorant when it comes to mathematics. And I guess I passed out before I heard the answer. Or I didn't pass out. I had to take care of kids or, kids. Always fucking up my education.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a... I thought we addressed your question.
Kind of.
I wrote it down and everything. Okay.
Kind of.
About chaos theory and
nonlinear equations, altering how we view space and space-time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to some extent it does. Nonlinearity and chaotic. System response are actually sort of intrinsic to the way we look at a lot of things. The whole butterfly effect view of time, where a small change back in the time stream can lead to an entirely divergent reality. That's a manifestation of chaos theory. And I forget who it was, but whoever it was that observed that if Cleopatra's nose had had a different shape, the whole of history would have been changed.
This has been brought to you by a generous grant foundation and the support of viewers like you.
Hey, PBS is a shit.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody got that.
It is.
That might have been too old for most people in the chat.
Team Skeptic asked, do perfect circles exist outside of mathematics? And absolutely they do not. So there you are.
And the eyeball is the closest thing to a perfect circle we get? Or a perfect sphere?
Well, I mean, sort of a surface like a sphere is defined as only being 1 point thick, and a point has no thickness. In terms of volume, a perfect sphere has zero volume. There's nothing in the physical world that obeys those concepts. That obeys those precepts. So, mathematics is always an approximation to reality. And often it's a very, 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 very good approximation to reality. I'm not sure if you guys have come across the SciShow. But I'm going to shield them. They have some really, really interesting shows on. Some of them are quite silly, but some of them are really, really, really good. And they have a list of the top 10 most well understood constants. And I forget which constant it was, but it was something like, we know the second best constant that we know is actually mass. There are two ways of defining mass. Either it's the resistance to a force applied to it, or it's a measure of the potential that a body has in a gravitational field. So it's kind of analogous to electrostatic charge. It's gravitational charge inside a gravitational field. But these two ways of defining it, which don't seem to be related to one another, as far as we can tell, they are exactly the same. And the level of precision we know this with is something like, if you imagine the distance from where you are to the nearest point on Mars, we know that these two things are equivalent to within a blood cell, a red blood cell. That's how much uncertainty there is between those two. So that, if you imagine that distance as being the mass, we are absolutely certain to within the width of one blood cell that these two things are completely the same. And I am making a point of not looking at the chat because I know that people are in comas in the chat right now.
Not too bad. Clive Wells says that the closest thing would be the event horizon of a black hole.
Yes.
And then Jessica G says a perfect circle would be a circle with all of us inside of it, with Team Skeptic and Irish Demon on the outside of it.
That's a pretty good circle, yes. Clive Wells is right that that's the closest, but I think that I'm not certain that that's ever going to be meaningfully exact. One of the things is how do you measure it, how do you define it, and all of this sort of stuff. And I kind of think that there's a lot of leeway. And this is one of the distinctions between myself and Clive is I'm a geography teacher, and my grounding is a lot less theoretical than as much as I can talk about theory. Actually, Clive has a much stronger grounding in mathematics and theory than I do.
Well, then there you go, Clive Wells. How come you're not on the four Beardsmen?
He doesn't have a beard.
Oh, well, there you go.
Uh,
You can't be part of the club.
But I actually do live in fear of the day when everybody works out that why are we listening to this old fucking Phoebe when we could be listening to Clive Wells. I do kind of think that he's a much more qualified person to be addressing a lot of this.
Yeah, but you get heated. So there's an entertainment value in watching someone who is on at first glance, right? So if nobody's ever seen PhD Tony before, he is this. I mean, you are this really mild-mannered, very polite, intelligent, educated human being until that guy pisses you off, and then it's fuck you and you fucking cunt
and again,
which is amazing to watch, right? That transformation is almost as good as the American Werewolf in London transformation.
Yeah, that's interesting because I haven't seen you get salty on a flurf in a while. And
was it Brian's logic?
Brian's logic really wound me up.
Yeah.
Because watching Tony go off on a flurf is absolutely hilarious.
That, and who was the other one? Who was the other asshole that come in and, I'm only bringing up this because I wanted to get your opinion on it, not because I believe it.
That was Barry fucking J, the dietitian.
Oh, the dude talking about the climate change?
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck that.
I don't believe this stuff. I just wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it. Bullshit, you fucking.
Yes, my training is in diet, in human nutrition, and I'm going to talk about the fucking climatology. It's like, shut the fuck up, man.
And then I'm going to say, then being a guy who's my shtick is dietary nutrition, blah blah, but diabetes doesn't exist. High blood pressure doesn't exist. Cholesterol doesn't exist. Fuck off.
Cholesterol doesn't exist. My dead father would disagree with that.
Yeah. There's such thing as bad cholesterol. Yes, there is.
He's a fucking idiot. Yeah, Jessica G, Mind of God, did get me annoyed, but eventually we sort of got to a point where it became obvious that Mind of God didn't know a fucking thing that he was talking about. And it seemed it seemed like we got to a point. I thought coming into that, well, this guy's got some mathematical expertise. It should be fairly easy to work through conservation of energy, gravitational potential, and kinetic energy trading off, and we should be able to get to the theory of gravity. We should be able to work out what the mathematical form for gravity is from just conservation of energy. And then, he just didn't know anything. Like, he'd been prattling on, making all of these pronouncements, and it turned out that he was, he had absolutely no fucking understanding of anything whatsoever.
It was very similar to, I recently had a debate with a theist. I've been getting a lot more theist debates, which is really cool.
Nice.
And I've got some. They've been on Discord, and I've got some big ones that have come out of the woodwork that like Matt Slick wanted a piece of me apparently because the other lesser theists have been talking me up or something. I don't know, talking shit. Mm-hmm. But I got a chance to throw down with a guy called Mr. Batman, which some people in the live chat might recognize the name. Mr. Batman is also a presuppositional apologist. The only difference is that instead of getting angry like Darth Dawkins and kicking people or banning them from the server, he just hangs up and runs away. And he's the kind of guy he was like he doesn't believe in brute facts. Everything is causal relations. Everything is everything is agential in that respect, and he believes, because he says, "Oh, I've been a science teacher for 20 years." Yeah. Although, and he tried to explain to me how in this rudimentary science lesson, how the second law of thermodynamics proves God.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And yet he called the universe an isolated system.
Mm.
So you got me on that way. I have no idea. But when it was weird because he was like, because everything is agential and like brute, so is that a brute fact? It's like, I have no idea. It's a brute fact. It's what we have. It's all we know. So you could call it that until we get more information. He was like, there are no brute facts. Everything is agential. Everything comes from God. And I was kind of like, everything comes from God. So what was the agency that gave God the power to build the world as it is right now? It's like, no one gave him the agency. It's just God. So God is a brute fact. And his response literally was, "Good night," and he flew away like a pigeon that just played chess. So, but
that was you're actually you have a really good grasp of how to make them look foolish, and that's the key skill. That's the core ability that you need.
I think
really
the thing
just let them
that's
do it themselves. Just be quiet.
Yeah. If you just hang back, maybe. And the one thing I found, I think I'm getting better at is asking them questions about what they are, so that they dig their hole deeper. It's like, could you explain? It was like and the big thing is they have a tendency when they argue is to go from claim to claim to claim. They think that making one claim gives them carte blanche to jump to other claims, and you have to stop them in the middle and be like, wait, no, back to the first claim.
Yeah, you have to substantiate this first claim here.
Yeah, it's like, you're losing me. Go ahead and explain this first claim. Like, let's dive into this first one and see how it justifies the next 7 that you just made. And so we'll and eventually they'll just end up hanging themselves. Because when you start, instead of saying, "No, you're wrong, this is why you're wrong," just say, "Hey, can you clarify?" But wait, isn't that so you ask questions? So you do the reverse. You kind of ask questions and let them dig themselves deeper.
Well, yeah, you have to pretend like you're actually interested in what they have to say, right?
Well, I kind of am.
Okay. Wait. I guess I phrased that wrong. You have to pretend that what they have to say is something worth, or is something valuable, right?
Exactly.
So if you give them that, if you stroke their ego a little bit, and you approach it from an era of curiosity, or what they think is curiosity, then they're more likely to give a little bit more and let their guard down a bit. And that's when they expose the flaws in their arguments by themselves. Yeah. And then you find it and you ask the question in a curious manner about that flaw, and all of a sudden they can't answer it.
Eventually it all winds up to wait. Hang on a sec. Isn't that circular reasoning? And then the justification of that is like, there are particular kinds of circular reasoning that are acceptable. Like epistemological circular reasoning is better than just atheistic circular reasoning. And I'm going like, wait. How is one type of circular reasoning less fallacious than another? Because it forms itself. You're using the conclusion to affirm the conclusion. It's kind of like, that doesn't. But I mean, that's the way they did. That's their post hoc rationalization of trying to make something make their position fit.
Right.
And
my circular reasoning is good because it has to be good. Because if it's not good, then it doesn't work, and I'm wrong.
Because it has the letters G-O-D in it. That's the reason that's the reason it works. I've pretty much gotten to the point, and this was with help of Johnny O and several other individuals, that if you pretty much walk them back to the point where it's all axiomatic, and they get really, really flustered when everything is an axiomatic position, because it is. Even if someone states, "I don't believe in axioms," that in itself is an axiom. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. And once you walk them back to that everything is a presupposition. I don't know if I'm not a brain in a jar. I could be a brain in a jar. I don't support I don't really believe in hard solipsism. I don't accept hard solipsism, but I have no argument against it. Okay, so I have to presuppose that I actually exist to have experiences. I presuppose that PhD Tony and you are separate entities from myself. I justify that because his experiences are not my experiences, and my experience is not his. So that's how I can build my foundation. I can keep going. So
right.
And when you say but it's all presuppositional, it's all axioms, and then theirs are equally as unjustifiable, or
you say it's all presuppositional, right? So there's a difference. There's a difference in an honest presupposition, one that maybe Clive Wells would have. Well, I'm going to presuppose this, but then I'm going to experiment on it And my experimentation, the results of my experimentation show that my presupposition is incorrect. So I need to alter what I think versus, well, it's God. But what about, nope, it's God. But this says it's, no, I said it was God, it is God. Now it was God, then it's going to be God in the future, right? There's that not breaking from your, even no matter what the evidence says, no matter how much, that your presupposition is wrong or doesn't hold logical water. So there, I guess in that circumstance, you could have a good presupposition versus a bad presupposition.
I would say a more intellectually honest one, a more intellectually consistent, intellectually consistent presupposition. So I don't have wild presuppositions. Yeah, yes, they're still they're presuppositions. I don't have wild axioms though, because there is if there are grandiose ones, there's not. Like I would say that that unicorns actually exist, Okay, well, or something of that. There are grand ones and there are not so grand ones. There are ones that the evidence, rudimentary. I can't say the word now.
Rudimentary.
Rudimentary support. And there are ones that are just so absolutely fantastic. And I'm cool with people who want to hold that belief. I have no problem. I have no beef with someone who wants to say, I believe this, that, I believe in God. And I'm like this. I got no beef with theists. My beef is when the theists think that their belief justifies them infringing upon other people. Genocide. And telling them that how they live and like why they live and the choice they make are wrong because they don't hold the same presupposition as them. If you judge somebody by their axioms, that's crap. You can't do that because we're all
that is wrong with theism to me can be neatly summarized in one statement, which is kill them all, God will know his own. Right? Which is reported to have been said during the Albigensian Crusade by Bishop, and led to the massacre of the entire population of a particular city. If you believe that there is an afterlife in which God will, judge the virtuous as being, worthy of infinite, of eternal paradise, and the wicked of eternal perdition, then killing people just isn't a bad thing to do, because all they're doing is going to meet their maker. All you're doing is accelerating their progress to their final the final judgment that they deserve. So if you kill a good person, well, that's okay because they're going to go to heaven. If you kill a bad person, that's okay because they're bad and they deserve to be killed. And that is the ultimate logical. Once you accept the axiom of the religious viewpoint, that is not an immoral act, and it's a really, really dangerous viewpoint. It's just incredibly noxious. And I can't support it. I can't tolerate it as being a potential interpretation of reality.
It was Pope Urban II. I'm pretty certain, who was the one who basically altered the stance on church violence or violence committed by church members to justify the Crusades against the Muslims. And that it was because it was ordained by God, and because these people were a threat because the Muslims were a threat to Christians, and because they occupied the Holy Land, that this gave them the opportunity to do it. And so that it was basically stated from Pope Urban that if those who swung the sword in the name of God swung it righteously, no matter who they killed. And of course, if they were to die swinging that sword righteously, they would automatically get to go to heaven. So when you assure your followers that no matter what they do or what atrocities, no matter what war atrocities they commit, they're going to heaven, you can justify anything. And you are correct. Once people jump down that rabbit hole, once people get into that whole notion that no matter what, I've got to get out of jail free card because I'm
Yeah.
on the 'cause I'm on the winning side,
And
and they could,
Yeah, well, and I want to make a bit of a hard turn here, because we see the same attitude being expressed by people who would describe themselves as being liberals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's so we have gotten to this stage where liberals feel empowered, people who consider themselves liberal minded, they will judge and condemn people on the basis of misspeaking or, not knowing better or whatever. And they will cast personal judgment. This person is a racist because they made that joke, or they associated with that person, or they did this, that, and the other. And I used to have some sympathy, like opposing racism is so important, that we need to tolerate people overstepping the line. But in fact, it is poisoning political discourse, because instead of discussing the issues meaningfully, you're attacking the person. The person feels attacked. They're not going to talk with you. They're not going to listen to what you're saying. You just called them evil. I feel like, and it took a few people to explain sort of what was going on. If you've never come across the work of Jonathan Pye, I highly recommend his work. He has a lot to say about, the concepts of thought police and, too much political correctness. But also Bill Burr and Jessica, both make the point very, very vividly. And my brother, actually, quite, sort of, that if you do this, you are basically just a fanatic. You are an unreasoning fanatic. You are no better than the people you are trying to oppose.
Yeah,
and you have created a concept of thought police. Basically, you are willing to condemn to destruction people who don't agree with your idea of how people should behave.
Yep.
And it is a very tempting ideology when you think you've got the upper hand. Like, any dissent is bad, any deviation from accepted norms is unacceptable.
Yep. The biggest example I can think of what you're talking about comes from the LGBTQ plus community, where they, rightfully so, demand acceptance, or at least tolerance, at the very least tolerance, yet they aren't tolerant themselves of people who don't think it's right. It's one thing to say, hey, you know what, I respect your right to do what you want, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the fact that, I don't think a man and a man should be together. I don't think tongue sticks should be something that we play, okay? And then on the flip side, being on the LGBT community and then having, attacking somebody who would say something like that, something like, well, I don't think it's right for me, but you do what you want to do. Well, no, you're just a bigot. You're just this, and you're just that. You're the same. You are literally the same as the people you hate when you do stupid shit like that. If you want tolerance, then you yourself must be tolerant.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that has led us down the path of sort of not accepting that actually somebody who disagrees with you might have some positive motivation for not agreeing with us.
Right. Yeah, just because somebody doesn't agree with us, and just because their point of view may be a little off center or off color, doesn't mean they're inherently a terrible person. No,
not at all. And I think that, it's a tyranny, sort of where it would, the people, and I see it more clearly now. Like I say, I used to be a lot more tolerant of it, but I can see that it's a tyranny, and it poisons discussions. It just, prevents us from having any constructive
Right.
discussions.
Calling everybody
you know,
a racist doesn't do
Yeah.
anything except diminish what that term means.
yeah. I'm not sure if you've seen Avenue Q or come across Avenue Q.
I haven't.
Oh,
Um,
that's the puppet show.
that's the puppet show,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They do a puppet musical, and it's kind of slightly more adult. It's a more adult take on the Muppets, and
It's not Meet the Feebles extreme,
it's
but
not.
it's adult.
Yeah, it's adult, and one of the songs that they do is "Everybody's a Little Bit Racist," and it's quite true. People see somebody who doesn't look like them, their instinctive reaction is to say, well, my instinctive reaction, I grew up in Australia, everybody here is white, pretty much. Very, very few people of color. And going to the US, there's a person of color, there's a person of color, there's a person of color. And I'm going, hang on, they're just people. They're not in any way remarkable. Like they're not in any way different from me in any sense. Why is my brain throwing up these signals to me? Why am I? Why do I think it's remarkable that somebody who is racially distinct from me is walking down the street? Um, and um, and you've got to accept that you can have that impulse. You can have that response inside your brain, and then you go, and then your rational response goes, no, you're just being stupid. Quiet down. And let the grown-ups handle this. It's not at all remarkable. It's not at all noteworthy. And it requires a change in the way that you think about stuff. I think, and it's not necessarily, it's not like racism or racist impulses, I think, ever completely go away.
Well, I mean, you're talking about at that point, it's tribalism. Is that the
Yeah.
ingrained notion that those who look similar to you are to be trusted and those who do not look like you are not to be trusted? It's purely a survival thing. It's what tribalism is all about.
Right.
And then grows as into society that reflects in kind of like you're looking at somebody like that. But then, when you get, religion involved, religion justifies harmful action against other tribes, other people to view them in a specific light, gives birth to systemic racism, and it's so on and so forth. But I mean, like you said, I think Johnny and I came down to the conclusion one time, or it was a friend of mine came to the conclusion, is like, there is no cure for human tribalism. There will be no cure for this. It is something that must be consciously addressed and then set aside. It's like, yes, I understand this is a part of my physiology. It's wired in here. I can acknowledge that, accept it, and then I can deny it. So until human beings, carte blanche, en masse, are willing to deny their tribalism, that they are educated to the point that they are aware of it, that they are both emotionally and intellectually aware of their tribalism, and then to actively deny that tribalism and then reap the benefits of not engaging in such behavior. Until people can recognize that, then it may quiet down. It may kind of like be under the surface, but it's never going to go away. We're going to be dealing with it at all times until we can either change our brains or actively change ourselves.
And all of that being said, I think if somebody makes an off-color joke, makes a during an interview, makes some sort of misstatement, or makes a clumsy reference or allusion or that sort of thing, you need to cut them some sort of slack. Nobody's perfect for starters, and people can say things that that if you pause and think about the logical consequences of them, are distasteful. But that doesn't make them evil. I mean, everybody can do that, and everybody can say, okay, now that you point that out, that can have another meaning that I wasn't thinking of at the time. But I think that the zero tolerance the emphatic zero tolerance attitude that we've got, just sort of, it actually, it really is harmful. It really does destroy sort of the mood. And I'm sorry because I was trying to actually be a lot funnier this week than I was last week because I got a bit glum last week.
Tony Regime brings up a good point. Is we can move on from that tribalism. We did it when we moved from extended family to village to city to nation. We just need to move forward to species.
That's interesting. That's an interesting thought.
Well, I think it's quite true. I mean, it's sort of a human life is a human life. A human awareness is a human awareness, and it deserves respect. And I actually go a little bit beyond that. Sort of, I can't really abide cruelty to animals. They are very, some animals are very, very tasty, but cruelty to, that doesn't necessitate or require any form of cruelty to the animals.
Yeah.
I just don't see how you justify making somebody else suffer on the grounds that it makes you feel slightly better.
Clive Wells brings up a good point. Cruelty to flirts, though?
They don't feel pain, not the way we...
Well, but here...
They're like fish.
Cruelty to flirts. When you sit down with somebody and have a discussion and try and have a reasonable discussion with said person, and their only recourse is, nuh-uh, you're wrong, nuh-uh, I'm right, because reasons, then yeah, they deserve it.
Oh, it does make you want to strap them upside the head with something solid.
I mean, I don't know if you... Look, I'm not necessarily saying we got to beat them or whatever, but to ridicule them, when you invite ridicule, you have to be ready and willing to accept ridicule. And that's part of the thing that these flirfs don't have, is that acceptance that they are going to be ridiculed.
Yeah. I think that they're, and certainly that it doesn't hurt that they do seem to be reasonably obnoxious, almost uniformly. Right. They seem to have some. They seem to have some extremely. That systematically they espouse some with us things. Again, it's one of those things about sort of. Let's face it, all humans are hypocrites, or at least I'm certainly a hypocrite. And if you guys aren't hypocrites, I'm hypocrite enough for the lot of us. I like to try and pretend that I'm rational and that the decisions I come to make sense. But when it comes down to it, I take a dislike to people who are peddling misinformation, and flat earthers are doing that.
Yep.
Theoretic says, well, at least people who can't do basic math have somehow debunked the greatest minds to have ever lived.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Clive. Well, take that.
Speaking of tribalism and, people who won't get out of their own fucking way, I'm very, very curious. I've been doing some research into our current situation here in the States, and what the orangutan shitting in the Oval Office is trying to do. It's very, very slim. It's a very, very slim chance as to what Trump is trying to do to basically disenfranchise voters from the voting process. There is an extremely slim chance. So I actually read this really in-depth article about Trump's potential path to victory and how he could actually overturn the election against Biden. And what it involves, it doesn't involve the Supreme Court. It involves altering the electorates that actually choose who they're, or basically altering the people who choose who that state votes for because of the way our electoral system works, and and basically running a smear campaign that destroys faith in our voting system. And but if he generates enough oomph in that, then he can actually alter who the states will vote for because enough people hate the current system that's in place. Like, they have enough people believe it's fraudulent, the electorate will actually alter their vote to reflect public opinion.
Right.
And because because it's illegal to be a faithless what was it, a faithless voter?
Elector.
A faithless elector,
Elector, yeah.
So he actually could now this is highly improbable.
Yeah.
But it still exists, which I think is a glaring problem that we have with our current fucking system.
I want to say this. So the Secretary of State of Georgia, for instance, who stood by the recount, proud Trump supporter, and just did his job. Just said, look, we did the recount. Numbers are numbers. I would have preferred Trump won, and to have a fervent Trump supporter do that is actually incredibly reassuring. This is somebody who okay, he's a Trump supporter. He's a Republican. And it would be to his advantage it would be to his party's advantage for him to corruptly administer his position. And he's just not doing it. Like, he's doing what he was appointed to do. So I just don't see that the faithless elector argument has any validity to it whatsoever. It's just yes, Trump is going to try everything because he's never going to give up, because he's like a flailing infant at this point.
Yeah.
Like a stroppy 4-year-old who won't go to bed, but is clearly so fucking exhausted that they're just gone off their nut. That's pretty much what he's doing now. But it remains the case that and I have to say that I had my doubts at some points. People kept on telling me, the system, the institutions are going to survive this. I'm not entirely certain that they haven't been damaged, but certainly, the trend of events certainly seems to indicate that the institutions are certainly going to stand firm in the face of this infant. And he stopped being funny. That's the thing that gets me, right?
Right.
I came onto this stream resolved to try and be fucking funny, and now Donald Trump is in my way. I want to be entertaining. I hate the guy, and I'm not going to miss any chance to talk him down. But he's boring now. He's history. He just doesn't realize his history. Let's move on.
I think he does realize it. It's starting to slowly pick its way through that whatever empty space between his ears. That you're not going to be president on January 20th.
The whole reason I bring it up is because technically, Trump is still president, and a child who doesn't get his way, and especially someone like Trump, could wind up doing things or saying things. He's basically, at this point right now, all he's doing is using the time he has left to make things as difficult as humanly possible for Joe Biden.
Yep. Childish bullshit. It's childish bullshit.
Delaying the transition of power, delaying COVID-19 responses, delaying critical confidential information government information that Biden needs in order to make sure that we don't have any drops or any lapses while we move from person to person. If I was walking into the presidency day one and I had no information to go on, I would be next level fucking pissed. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go, but there is I don't know what the fucker can do. You know, he is out. He will be out January 20th. He's done. He is done. That is guaranteed fucking T. There is no question about this. Even Tucker Carlson has backpedaled away faster than a drunk mime in a Paris exhibition.
Yeah,
he has backpedaled away from the idea that these fraud claims have any merit, and that's saying something. So
well, I mean, it was always a stark contrast between what they were prepared to say in front of a camera and what they were prepared to say in court when there was a when they could be brought up on perjury charges. But it's yes, he can do damage to the country, and in some senses, he's just exposing flaws in the system. If the system, if the only defense against this sort of thing was, well, we didn't think anybody would actually do it, then the system needs to be reformed. And I think there are a huge number of reforms that need to happen to the American political system. And it's not really any point, and part of it, a huge part of it to me is trying to get some sort of independence from political parties so that people who are in positions like the Georgia Secretary of State aren't expected, because he is an outcast in his own party, but he's just doing his job. That's what an elected official should do. That makes him, one of the unsung heroes of the United States. Somebody who, even though it would have benefited his party to behave differently, decided to behave according to the precepts of law and morality. And the existence of people like him, a staunch Republican, a staunch supporter of Donald Trump, whose primary motivation was just to do his best for the country. And we can see, when somebody's willing to do that, we see that they're not the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they disagree with us. They don't see things the way we do, but still they do their job, and they do their job for the basis of the country. And that,
right,
to me, this guy to me needs to be being held up, and everybody dismisses the fact that he's just doing his job. But I think actually, he deserves a lot of support and respect.
That needs to be highlighted, because there are a lot of people who aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
True.
And it's, and sure, he's a Republican. I don't necessarily understand why he voted for Trump, but he did. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, and this is the thing, it should be the case that he can vote for somebody I don't think should be president, but he should do his job non-corruptly, and so should the Democrats. And the system is so tribalized, so polarized, that it seems to be an accepted reality that whoever's, the Secretary of State in a particular state is going to abuse that position for the benefit of their political party. And that just needs to stop. It if the US is to get to a better place, we need to all agree that the political parties are to some extent inherently corrupt institutions.
Yes.
And what we need to do is step back and look at individual policies, not is it Democrat or is it Republican, but look at individual policies and see whether or not they're working. See whether or not they're good for the American population. That's what it's supposed to be all about. I mean, sorry, I'm babbling a little bit here, and I'm dominating.
You're good.
So, but Australians don't hold America in high esteem. But having lived there for 5 years, I really began to understand what
Tony, let me ask you a question. Do Australians hold anybody other than Australians in high esteem?
No, absolutely not. But they held themselves in pretty high esteem. But living there for 5 years, I began to understand what a truly great country the US was, and just how genuinely charitable the people who live there are. It upsets me that sort of the system isn't working for the average person, and we kind of need to work out how we can make the system work for the average person. That seems to me to be the highest priority. It's not a matter of Democrat. It's not a matter of Republican. In fact, those two parties have actually destroyed the
polarizing of those two parties have destroyed any kind of real progress that we can make as a country. And until we stop playing left side, right side against each other and start saying, we may differ on, these are the ideals that we differ on. What are the things that we agree on? And start there. Hey, how can we work with what we agree on and then start working on what we disagree on, seeing that there's not that much of a giant gap or bridge between those two ideas.
Yeah. And I think, it's one of the things like I've seen some really toxic comments erupt in chats around this sort of shit. And people don't make the effort to try and understand. So how would a positively motivated person say that, right? Why would a positively motivated person say what that person just said? And it almost always turns out that if you point out to both sides, well, he probably meant this and you probably agree with that, and he probably meant that and you probably agree with it. The distance between the two sides is actually relatively small. But if you take an uncharitable view, if you take the attitude that I'm going to interpret this in the way that makes the other person the villain, then you're going to end up with villains on the other side, and they're going to view you as villains too. And we kind of need to get past that sort of false dichotomy. Again,
Agreed.
I came into this trying to be funny, guys. I failed. Sorry.
Yeah, Skydiver, if you need to send me a Facebook link and DM to Discord, let me know.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But here's the funniest part about what you said is that it's all true.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you I'm glad that you agree. Thank you.
Yes.
To some extent that makes me suspicious, because I feel like I said that it's okay to disagree with me.
It is. It really okay. So, but here's the thing. It really is, and that's the thing that people need to understand is that it's okay to disagree with your political counterpart. I hate calling them political opponents because that adds an air of adversary nature to it. We don't want to do that. We want to get rid of all that bullshit. Look, having a difference of opinion is one thing. But being bullish, belligerent, and an asshole about your differences of opinion is another. Alien X typo on your last message. Maybe. There might be. Oh, yeah, plot hole. Yeah. I can't see. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my right eye, when I woke up this morning, it was swollen shut. It is now starting to open a little bit, but I still can't see very well. So, yeah, I may not type. My typing may be a little suspect. My reading might be a little suspect because I can't see very well. But yeah. But Tina Jones says instead of working against each other, they could be much more productive if they actually work together. And that is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
If they would start with, if they would start with what they agree on or what they're closer in ingredients to, right? And start from there. And worked on those things and worked backwards, so to speak, and get to the ones that they don't agree on, and figure out how they can. No, it's not pink eye Alien X Gaming. I have a similar condition, but not a contagious condition. Anyway, so yeah, they work their way backwards to figure out how they can work on some of the things that they really don't agree on, because almost every single issue has common ground. There's a middle ground that they can get to. Consensus politics is very much overrated. It might sound good in principle, but in practices it leaves dissenting voices unheard and bad policies unchallenged.
Well,
interesting.
I very much agree. So if you take the idea, for instance, that there are the two attitudes. So if you go into it, if somebody comes up to you and says, well, I want to burn your house down, and you say, well, I don't want you to burn my house down.
Right.
And they say, well, how about I only burn down 50% of your house? And you go, well, no, that doesn't work for me either.
Right.
And they respond, well, you're not negotiating. You're just,
No, sure. Like I said, most issues. There are some issues that there's no middle ground. It's either one way or the next. Like the abortion issue, like firearm restrictions, tax policies on the wealthy versus the poor, etc. There are issues that don't have true middle ground. It's like, well, you can abort half the baby, but the other half you have to let go. Doesn't work that way.
But and Clive Well's other point is that just because a policy is really, 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 really popular doesn't make it good.
Right.
For instance, being racist pricks is really, 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 really popular in Australia. But that doesn't make it a good policy.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Warren's been really quiet over there.
I've been listening to you guys go. I kicked the football and Tony just ran with it.
JL Warren. I'm glad you said that because I actually looked up where Kick the Pig comes from. We thought it was like how you start a football game. No, it's actually how you kickstart a Harley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Boss Hog.
Boss Hog. Call a pig. Kick the pig. There it is.
There you go.
Completely irrelevant to the conversation, but there you go.
No, because I did remember that. I had not heard that idiom, and I was somewhat fascinated by it. So I'm glad you
Tony
corrected.
just called me an idiot.
I did not at all.
Hey, you guys see what's on the screen right now? You guys like that? What do you think?
Yes,
I do.
What do you think?
that looks like Will Ferrell from Elf.
It does. It does look like
I'm glad you took my advice.
of
So
course.
it's
Because I knew that would be an amazing one. I wish that y'all had been able to do a Thanksgiving one where Jeremy was like the pilgrim.
Yeah.
And then you were the turkey.
Yeah. I only had enough in my coffers to select either or the holiday, the Christmas or the Thanksgiving. So I went with Christmas.
Okay, so at New Year's, who's going to be the baby, and who's going to be the New Year's baby? Who's going to be the Father Time?
We're not going to have a New Year's one, unfortunately.
What about Valentine's Day? Who's going to be the Cupid?
Who's going to be the cherub? The cherub Cupid? I don't do Valentine's Day.
St. Patty's.
St. Patty's.
Okay, so that means that you have to be the leprechaun.
I'm too fucking big to be a leprechaun.
hang on. Isn't this cultural appropriation? Shouldn't I be outraged by the fact that my forebears' culture is being stolen here?
Okay, for Australia Day, who's gonna be the emu, and who's gonna?
Yeah. When's Australia Day, JL?
I don't know.
No Googling.
Australia Day, January 15th.
There you go, January 15th.
No, that is wrong.
Am I close?
You are close, actually. It's a January 26th.
Oh,
Though there is
a week off.
There are moves afoot to change it, because the Indigenous Australians are not particularly thrilled with it. And Clive Wells was even closer, January 25. Sadly, not. It's January 26. Yeah.
I'm just glad I got it in the correct month. Because
Yes,
I
you
had
did.
thought
That
it was in
pretty fucking
January,
good.
but somebody said no, it could be March, but I thought it was January, so I went with my gut instinct to go with January.
For the I posted up in the chat. We actually have a new limited. You posted that up, so I wanted to post up our new limited edition
Yes,
T-shirt.
hang on one sec.
Featuring the artwork of Joshua Olson, who is the guy who did the artwork for the plot hole for the classic stuff that you see there, and the badass Halloween poster that I bought. He did the art. He actually did some new artwork for the Week in Horror podcast, and we've made that into a limited edition T-shirt that is up on Teespring, super cheap. So I think people might really dig that because Joshua did some amazing work on this one. I fucking love it.
And it's coming, get a little bigger.
That is a little bigger. Yeah, that does look good. Though, frankly, Eugene is not sufficiently more attractive than the other two of you.
And that's saying something because I'm a zombie.
You are a zombie here.
Yeah. So Anzac Day, which has been brought up, that is the 25th of April.
What is Anzac Day? What is that?
So the Australian-New Zealand Army Corps were formed during the First World War, and Winston Churchill came up with a grand plan to knock Turkey out of World War One by invading Turkey, and so he decided that he decided to send an expedition to try and invade Turkey. They landed in the wrong place. It was a complete disaster, and we got our asses fucking kicked by the Turks. But that is the point. The Anzac expedition is the point at which Australia stopped being a collection of colonies and started being a single nation. So Dark Steve says that his great grandfather died last year at the age of 103. Possibly an Anzac veteran. We don't have any left, I don't think, who were there. Because it happened in 1915. But it sort of, the thing is that we get to blame the English for fucking the entire thing up and dragging us into a shitstorm. But we tried our best and we got our asses kicked. But then we left. And so it's one of those weird things where actually the Turks celebrated as well because their president, Kemal Ataturk, who sort of was the person who transitioned Turkey from the Ottoman Empire into its modern incarnation, he was the commander against the Australians and the British and the Indians and the New Zealanders. Vastly more Indians died than Australians, but don't mention that to any Australians. They'll get upset. Yes, we celebrate it, and so do the Turks. The Turks celebrate it as a miraculous victory in which the sovereignty of their country was preserved, and we celebrate it because we did okay, I guess.
Well, we didn't all die.
That's right.
That's funny. It was one of Churchill's brilliant ideas. He had many of those, says Salvatore.
It was actually a pretty good idea. It turns out to have been screwed up by an admiral. He sent some shit. So the original idea was to send a fleet up the the Straits of Dardanelles to sort of bomb the living shit out of the Turks and force them, out of Istanbul and force them to capitulate. And it would have worked, except that the commander of the naval force that was sent was a bit old and inept. And despite being deliberately told not to do something, decided to do it anyway. And
so Nerd Angle, I'm sorry to interrupt. Nerd Angle has been asking us about this, what Trump is doing in the Pentagon by replacing everybody with loyalists and whatnot. Asking our opinions on this sort of thing.
I think it's a pathetic and desperate move to try and do this, and to basically take out individuals who would be complementary to a Biden presidency. That these are individuals that will just, basically, the odds are just making it more difficult for Biden to get anything done.
Right.
Because there'll be people who will consistently question him at all turns, and while they serve at the pleasure of the president, yes, there is some decorum that will be in place, but these are individuals who will they're road bumps. They'll slow everything down and just make Biden's job more difficult. But if it's
they'll also make it more embarrassing by releasing confidential material.
And of course, they serve at the pleasure of the president. So if they push it too far, he'll fire them anyway. It's entirely possible that he may come in with his new cabinet and do a clean sweep and just get rid of everybody who was tainted. But then again, the optics on that look bad, because it looks like he's just getting rid of those guys and replacing them with loyalists of his own. So, I mean, I'm quite certain he'll play it from the statement's position. He'll give them the opportunity. If they prove that they cannot be trusted, then he'll get rid of them and appoint people that are solid. I don't know, but it's obviously Trump muddying the waters, trying to fuck up the playing field, knock the pieces off the board, shit all over everything, and say, now that I'm leaving, you got to deal with it. And all I can say is, all my hope rests in the Southern District of New York.
Well, I have to, I think that the decision on whether or not Trump should face legal consequences actually should be completely separate from the presidency, right? This is a decision that should be made by impartial career law enforcement officials. And I understand that there is we have our preferences, we have our own thoughts on what should happen. But I really think that what we need to restore is faith in the institutions. And that the institution is not, that, for instance, the Attorney General is not, in fact, the president's fucking personal attorney, right? Yeah. And he can make decisions that the president doesn't necessarily agree with. That's his fucking job, actually. Right. Is to uphold the rule of law. And protect the U.S. justice system. Sorry, but I think we need to be moving back to that. And Biden has expressed preferences apparently about whether or not Trump be charged, and apparently he doesn't want Trump charged. But I don't care what Biden thinks.
Right.
And I don't actually think what Biden thinks is in any sense important. What I think is important is the preservation of the rule of law.
Yes.
And if you're going to set the precedent that the various acts that Trump committed are perfectly legal and normal and fine, okay. But you need to make an informed decision about that, because
I was saying Daniel Pratt's water heater brings up New York State is not pardonable. The Southern District of New York is. That's the whole big thing, is that if Trump is in the seat, then he is pardonable, and there are workarounds they could do. He could literally acquiesce at the last minute appoint Mike Pence as the president, and then Mike Pence can pardon him. There are little tricks that he can pull off in there, but the whole point is that the wolves will remain at bay until Trump is completely out of that office and has become a citizen again. Now, there are protections afforded by the federal government out of the fact that he is a former president, but those do not protect him from the entities that want to come out and go after him once he is out of the seat. Because even if once he's out of the seat, then the president will have to pardon him beyond that. Otherwise, and Biden is not going to do that.
All right. Let me interject a little bit of realism here. Not to say that what you're saying isn't realistic. Okay, that's not what I mean. What I mean to say is, having a former president indicted, charged, arrested, whatever, can and is often seen as a black mark on the American political system.
Mm-hmm.
So to avoid all of that, it probably won't happen.
Yep.
If we had a tyrant as a president, the kind of thing that Washington warned us about, okay, that almost drove us to the brink of war, that basically spat on every one of our allies, destroyed our economy, through negligence. 250,000 Americans died due to his negligence. In the 1800s, we'd have hung his ass. Okay, so there is something to be said for the fact that, yes, America does need the whole optics thing. Gets in the way of this.
Yep.
This behavior cannot stand. It can't. It's not a slap on the wrist bullshit.
Right, your scope is wrong, right? So you're thinking about it this much, okay? When you pull that scope out a little bit, you start looking at the bigger picture. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, okay? That's not what I mean. But when you look at the larger picture of this whole business, it's like Spew Agnew, for instance, was considered one of the worst presidents ever. So much so,
vice president, sorry, one of the worst
ever. So much so that people don't even know who the fuck that they don't even recognize that name.
Well,
Nixon.
obviously,
take a look at how long lasting the Nixon fiasco was.
Yeah.
How much people still talk about that, and how much of a joke that is.
Oh but that was legitimate. The reason people talk about it is
I agree. No, again, I agree. It is 100% legitimate to look at that Nixon incident and scrutinize it and ridicule it. Absolutely. But when you're the American political system and you're looking at that whole thing, do you want another blemish on it? Do you want another type of blemish like that on it?
Well,
do you want people in 100 years to talk, and when they're teaching their history lessons, do you want people 100 years from now saying, hey, look, shortly after Donald Trump was elected, the American people, the lesson would be the American people at that time had no idea how bad Donald Trump was going to be. It was so bad that immediately after he was out of office, he was indicted on this, and this, which paints the American people in a very negative light, that we didn't see, or we couldn't foresee the amount of corruption from this one person.
That speaks to our ability to foresee it, but not. Okay.
Yeah. Again, we're not talking about us right now. We're talking about 100 years from now. Or do you want the story to be the people realized their mistakes, corrected it with their next selection in president, and moved on?
Except they didn't, right?
But we did.
No, you didn't.
We
didn't
re-elect Donald Trump.
You believe, so the fact that this election was even worth counting, to me, stands as a huge indictment. It shows that a significant portion of the American public are perfectly okay with the way that Donald Trump behaved and comported himself in the office of President of the United States. And I really think that they shouldn't be okay with that. And there are two sides to this argument. Okay, if you turn around and you legally prosecute, you prosecute him to the full extent that the law permits, then it looks a lot like what you're saying is, well, it's okay to prosecute our political opponents. This is a precedent that will be accepted, and a substantial portion of the American public believes that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. If you turn around and you prosecute him, then you're basically telling them the next time that a Democrat gets voted out, he's up for the high jump as well, because it's okay to prosecute our political opponents. You need to consider that.
So here's the thing. First and foremost, I believe that Donald Trump should be prosecuted for the crimes that he's committed. Okay. I am not speaking from my own personal stance on what I think should or shouldn't happen. I'm trying to look at this from not an outsider's point of view, but I'm trying to look at it from a different lens, from a historical point of view, from how our leaders might be looking at what that means historically and for the future. You know what I'm saying? So what I mean to say to bring this up, what I mean to do by bringing this up is to say that I wouldn't expect any political or legal. I wouldn't expect any of this to happen. There's going to be talks about it for a little bit, and drumming it. I don't expect anybody to be sued, tried, convicted, any of that, who looks like Donald Trump. I just don't think it's going to happen because of how our politicians think that how it's going to stain the American political system. Okay. Again, I think that Donald Trump should be prosecuted. I don't think it's going to happen.
Someone in the chat brings Vroomfondel brings up the alternative is that we elected a crook and then let him go because he got elected.
But we've done that so many times. Again, that's happened. That's happened.
So
Nixon, look at Nixon.
Nixon won the election by promising North Vietnam better terms at the negotiating table than his opponent. Reagan won by promising weaponry to the Iranians as long as they didn't end the Tehran hostage crisis before the election was resolved. So, the degree of criminality that actually, quite highly, Reagan is still highly revered. He was a fucking criminal.
That's my point.
He never faced justice. He was never impeached. He was never. He was never subject to the consequences of his criminal acts, and he only got to be president because of the criminal acts that he committed. He stole the presidency, in effect, and history doesn't fucking care. And the question is it better for America that Trump be it's not a matter of whether Trump deserves to be prosecuted or not. The question I ask is whether it's better for the American political consciousness for Trump to be prosecuted or not. And I would argue that there's a strong argument to be made that while it would be gratifying in the short term, it will be used as a precedent to prosecute perfectly innocent presidents in the future.
Well, no, how? Because if they haven't done anything, then how can they be prosecuted? Persecuted, possibly, but that's just muckraking. Ultimately, you're looking at prosecuted for crimes. That's the point. That's the precedent that needs to be set. Is that it does not mean that the president of the United States is not above the law. Now, while he sits in the seat, maybe, but once he gets out of the seat, he's just another goddamn citizen. He can be pulled over, given a parking ticket, just like anybody else, and he should be. That's the way it should be, because he's just a citizen then. And then, if he breaks the law, or if he has broken the laws, and as a result of his presidency and the scrutiny of the presidency, those laws that malfeasance has come out, then those who decide to come after him after he has lost that power, after he's transitioned back to being a citizen, they decide to come after him. That's it. And then Joe Biden says, "Well, I'm sorry, boss. You broke the fucking law.
Well,
you broke the law. You're done."
Again, I don't think this is Joe Biden's decision.
Well, no, but he could allow to do it, and he could pardon him.
No, this is the decision of the. Well, he's going to pardon himself. Let's.
He can't pardon himself if nothing has been charged.
No, Nixon was pardoned without any charges being brought.
Right.
It doesn't. The sort of yes, technically, you're only supposed to be pardoned in response to the charges that have been brought, but Nixon was preemptively pardoned. So there's already precedent in the books for the broad power of the pardon, and I don't think that's going to evaporate overnight. But I just don't think that it's going to be. If Biden pardons Trump for all federal crimes, okay, that's his decision, that's his prerogative. He is the president of the United States, he gets to do that. I may not agree with that decision, such is life.
Yeah, that's a nail into the fucking wall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to suggest one way or the next what should or shouldn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen, because I think the political system, the American political system, is too big for its britches, and they don't want another shit stain like a Nixon.
Might well be. I mean, it's tough. It's a really, really tough call, and there are strong arguments, and I think JL has presented some of them. There are really strong arguments on both sides. I would not want to be the decision maker.
Yeah, me either.
Well, either way, the asshole's out of office, and unfortunately, I mean, Biden's looking at like the next 4 years just trying to clean up the goddamn mess. I will say I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the first 100 days, because it's going to be like rollback time and trying to fix this crap. So I don't know what's going to happen but I could say I'm excited about the future. For the first time in quite some time, I'm actually excited about the future, and that we may actually begin to see, because we have a person in the office who will listen to the people around him. He will listen to the will of the people, and the reason I have this hope is because the will of the people was that Biden would replace Trump, that Trump would go away, that Trump would be removed as president. And that's the reason I did that video. That makes me hopeful that even in the midst of all this insanity, we were able to pull some order out of this chaos, which means that the foundation of it is still there. It took a lot to uncover it. It took a lot. It took 250,000 people dead. It took, damn near World War III at some point with Iran in order to get us there. But hey, it's there, and that's a good thing. So the asshole is out.
The whole bitch about this, the bitch about this whole thing is that Trump could be so using a different strategy to turn this into a moral victory for him and leave on a high note. That's the worst part about it. He has the amazing ability to tell everybody that 70 million people voted for him. He was able to turn out his base so strongly that not only did he get 70 million people to vote for him, but he also helped orchestrate plus 7 seats in the House of Representatives, governorships across the country. Yeah. I mean, those are things he could hang his hat on, be seen as a moral victor for the future Republican Party. Like, hey, you know what? Trump may have been whatever, but look what he did. He was able to do this, and this. Now, the only thing people are going to talk about when they talk about Donald Trump is how he, cried like a baby on his way out.
Well, I actually think that we're losing sight of the forest for the trees. The important thing is how to protect American democracy from anything like this ever happening in the future. And so the important, more important than punishing Trump is making sure that this can't happen again. That there are controls in place, that there are checks, that the system of checks and balances is brought up to date, so that a president, regardless of their affiliation, does not have the ability to screw up anywhere near so spectacularly. And again, rather than indulge, I do think that Trump deserves to be prosecuted, but I don't care that much, because
you're more concerned with the result.
More important than vindictiveness or revenge or is the future of America, right? That should be everybody's highest priority. And you can make the argument that perhaps submitting Trump to justice puts America on a good footing. Actually, having more effective checks and balances in place is more important even than that. So I just think we need to focus on how we can make the situation better, rather than on how we can make this not. And to some extent, Trump is his own prison. Like, imagine having to live in that mind, in that mindset. He is a prisoner of his own insecurities and his own delusions. And he's never going to escape from that, except by the onset of senile dementia. So to some extent, justice will be served by history, if nothing else. More important is, how does this not happen again? And let's get all of the branches of government on board saying, okay, there are flaws in the system and they need to be fixed for the benefit of American citizens, to save lives and so that everybody acts in the interests of Americans.
So what you're suggesting is that we remove a little bit of power that the president has. It seems as if the president has maybe a little too much power. Or at least too much influence over power.
Yeah, I think that I certainly think that sort of being able to sack the Secretary of Defense because he isn't willing to back you up when you want to put troops in the street to cling on to power. I kind of think that in your lame duck session after the election, your ability to just fucking wholesale sack people and replace them with puppets ought to be limited, right? That ought to be restricted. Obviously the response of the disposition of national infrastructure to protect against the effects of a pandemic needs to be taken out of the control of people who can just refuse to acknowledge that a pandemic exists. as an example. Like, there are a number of, it's not that the president's powers are broadly oversweeping, but there are enough points where Trump overstepped the mark, that I think you need to sort of say, okay, we can legislate against these abuses in future. And I think actually that preventing future abuses, or indeed escalations, because one of the problems is that Trump's presidency gets accepted as normal, and subsequent presidents are allowed to expand on this and go a step further. And if that is permitted to happen, then fuck knows where it's going to end up.
Right.
We need to fix the problems with the system rather than engaging in our desire for petty revenge against the. Trump, to me, is a completely pathetic individual. Right? He is stupid. He is ludicrous. He is just disconnected from reality. He is a pathetic, small, tiny man. Who cares? Who really gives a shit? Yes, he's a noxious piece of shit. But, how about instead of taking our frustrations out on him, we start fixing the system? That ought to be our higher priority, I think.
Well, don't hold back.
Well, I mean, Jessica G, and his real opinion. That's right. I've been hedging around the subject for a while. I've been, if you prompt me, I could be tempted. But it's just. It is very easy for us to say Trump is the problem and we need to fucking crucify Trump.
He's a symptom of the problem.
He is a symptom of the problem, and I actually think that people like Newt Gingrich and Rush Limbaugh and Rupert Murdoch and Mark Zuckerberg have actually contributed a lot to where we've ended up here, we rather than crucifying everyone who we think is a problem, perhaps just fucking fix the system so that it works.
Well, it worked for the Romans. I mean, the Appian Way was
the Appian Way was filled with fucking gladiators. Yes, I am Spartacus.
It's nothing like paving the or nothing like bordering the road that leads into your city with everybody who pissed you off.
Yeah, well, they did a little bit more than piss you off, but sure. But I think we can get overly fixated. I think there's an argument to be made for it doesn't matter who ultimately kicked the tires and it fell off. Ultimately, it was the fact that the tires weren't properly attached in the first place. And perhaps rather than engage our understandable lust for vengeance against somebody who was really quite unpleasant and made living through his presidency really quite a trial, I think instead of doing that, we just need to focus on what's important, and that is the welfare of Americans. Let's make the welfare of the average American our highest priority and stick to it. Let's stick to that. And,
Salvatore Ippolito brings up a good point. The guillotines need to come back. They do.
No, they don't, because a lot of people were guillotined that didn't need to be guillotined.
But you know what?
It was a political tool. It was used to silence people who didn't need to be silenced, who spoke up against a corrupted French regime.
Well, until the people used that same thing to take down that French regime.
Yeah, But again, you got to remember.
I believe that's what he's referencing, is the people rising up against that which is fascist and that which, unduly controls their lives, and using the guillotine to end that. So, by force.
Yeah. It's a horrible way to go, though.
It is an awful way to go.
Especially when they don't sharpen the guillotine after every beheading. It takes 3 or 4 different chops to go all the way through.
And there are political tools that are there that I think should not be discounted. It's like, for example, at what point, how far would Trump have had to have gone for the very government that he is the head of to turn against him? Like how far?
I think he's seeing that right now. I think we're seeing that right now. That's what we're witnessing right now.
Yeah, it's like, for example, it's like, what would he have had to have do for his own Secret Service to turn against him? That he has become an enemy of the people. That he has become the tyrant that Washington warned us about. And yet, the Secret Service are there, and they will protect him at all costs. How far does it have to go to cross the line? Yeah,
but that's the Secret Service's job, right?
That's true, but they're also there they're there to protect the president because he is upholding the Constitution. So what happens when he defies it? What happens? How bad does he have to be?
Have you read the history of the 1876 presidential election?
1876.
Right. How it was stolen, on behalf of Rutherford B. Hayes. Just the level of corruption and just blatant disregard for the electoral process. Basically, a New York newspaper editor decided what the result of the election was going to be, and it was stolen. It was stolen from Hayes's opponent. I'm not sure who it was, and there was political fallout following it, where a judge was appointed basically as the deciding vote. There were 7 and 6 Democrats and Republicans from the House, and 6 and 7 from the Senate. So they sort of compensated one another. But there was a judge who was relied upon to be impartial. But then after he was appointed, he got promoted to a different role. I think he got promoted to the Supreme Court. Anyway, he was not available to actually serve on this commission, and he was replaced by somebody who was just fucking corrupt. As a result of which, the last people to pay him off were the people who won the election. That's how his vote was cast. But America survived. It didn't descend into chaos. It is just an outrage what happened. But America did not spend the next 10, 12 years trying to get to the bottom of it and punish the people responsible. They just sort of shrugged and went on with their lives. It's sort of there can come a point where you're obsessing over negativity when the opportunity to move forward comes along. And I'm not suggesting that Biden is a panacea by any stretch of the imagination, because I think that Biden, to some extent, does represent the inherent corruption in the political system. Okay. And we should try and get rid of that. We should try and work forward. We should try and work towards a better solution. Again, I want what everybody should be working for. And this shouldn't be too hard to convince the average American. The political system should be working for them.
Right.
It should be working for rich, old, crusty assholes. It shouldn't be working for billionaires. It shouldn't be working for millionaires. It should be working for them. Let's get back to that. Let's try and convince everybody that our highest priority is not our political vendettas or our small-mindedness. It's a desire to make things better for everyone, every American.
I agree. And I think the biggest way to do that would be to limit the amount of money that's allowed to be in politics.
That'd be nice.
Lobbying needs to be severely crippled. You want to lobby? Cool. Yeah. You have $10,000 a year to lobby with. That's all. And that's any That's not $10,000 per whatever. That's $10,000 total. That's all you can lobby with. That's all the money you can put up towards government to lobby. Period. 10 grand. If you go over that, you lose your ability to lobby for, I don't know, your first offense for the next year. Second offense you get a 4-year cycle of no lobbying power whatsoever.
I just don't think there should be such a thing as lobbyists.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Lobbying against our government that's something that we should be able to do. Anybody is allowed to lobby against their government, right? So if we get a group of people together that say, hey, we want to make sure that we have animal rights protected and so on and so forth, I want to bring a bunch of people to my government and petition our government and lobby against them. That's one thing. We have because of the negative amount of lobbying that goes on, because of the ridiculous amounts of money that PACs and super PACs put towards lobbying, we have this negative connotation with that idea or that ability that we all have. Lobbying itself isn't negative. It's whenever it's so one-sided. Lobbying only works for people who can put up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in order to do so. So yeah, severely crippling that. If you want to make corporations people too, then they should have the same limitations as people. The exact same limitations.
You should be able to send a corporation to jail.
Exactly.
If you can't send a corporation to jail, then they're not actually an individual, are they?
Oh, absolutely agree. I think it was Citizens United was the biggest fuck up, one of the biggest fuck ups for the American political system. It was just so the whole idea that Facebook is a corporation and they should be able to no, get out of here.
Yep. Salvatore Ippolito brings up a good point that America was never like that, and that's fine. But I think that America can be better than it was. There is a great deal about America that is just fucking awesome. America has been one of the champions of justice and freedom in the world across the past century, and it just seems tragic that sort of short-sightedness can lead to a derailing of such a potent force for good in the world. I know everybody. I know not everybody will agree with me, but I think that America has had a lot of positive influence in the world. And the world would be a vastly worse place if America had not, asserted itself as a leader. But that isn't to say that America can't operate better.
Right.
But that again, I think that part of this is the recognition that everybody wants what's best for the average American, and Keeler brings up an excellent point in that for the vast majority of politicians, actually that isn't a priority, right? Priority is the priority of the vast majority of politicians is convincing the general public that the best interests of the politician coincide with the best interests of the public, right? So it's a con game. Whoever can most effectively lie to the public is going to get the job, and we're really in this corruption. We're really in this corrupt political system at the moment. And this seems like an opportunity to reassess our options and see how we navigate out of it. And we have common ground here. Everybody wants what is best for the average American citizen. I cannot stress that enough.
Yep. And on that note, holy crap, it's almost 10 o'clock, which means it's 4 o'clock in the morning for you, Tony?
Almost 3.
So let's go ahead and wrap up, even though Irish Demon didn't show back up. So I will speak for Irish Demon. All right, here we go. Here's Irish Demon's sign off.
Best sign off ever. Irish. Best sign off ever.
Irish. Yep, good job, Irish. All right, JL Warren, what do you got coming up on either the Weekend Horror, JL Warren, or both?
Oh man, a bunch of cool stuff. I'm trying to wrap up this this current video that I'm working on. There's a ton of source videos in it, and I'm still a little slow at Premiere, so it's taking me some time. I'm trying to make sure that it's just right before I let it out. So working on that, so that will be coming out soon. Weekend Horror, as far as go, we're closing out the month of November. We just had a fantastic special guest in Neil Ward, who is the star of the movie Host. He was on the show. That episode drops here in a couple of hours. And that was a lot of fun. So that was an absolute blast. Other than that, we're closing out November, and we're going into December, and we are going to be taking the podcast live here. I'm pretty sure we're going to shoot for the start of November, for the start of December being the first live podcast. So what we will do is that on Wednesday we will go live instead of recording it here. Here in the office, we'll go live. Do it so that everybody can watch it. We can interact with our audience members better, and then we'll just pull the audio, drop the audio on Sundays as normal. So we're looking forward to doing that. Other than that, pretty much just doing the same thing. Yeah, I think people are pretty familiar with what we do over here, and just getting the work done. That's it. And hopefully people will like it. Please subscribe. Because I'm the only one of the Beardsmen who is. Well, no, Johnny's very close. Yeah, what are you? I'll ask you were at 900, Johnny.
I actually, since the start of this live stream, I've lost 2 subscribers. So.
Fucking YouTube. Yep. But I am nowhere near. So Tony is above 1,000. Irish, crushed 1,000, and then Johnny, you're on the cusp. I am sitting at like less than 300. So for Weekend Horror now,
swing over there. Come on, guys.
Yeah, our now on the podcast side, as far as like Anchor and Spotify and all that stuff, we are much higher. So we are way bigger on the podcast sites than we are on YouTube. But hopefully going live will help with that. People get to see how we do it and kind of interact with us there. We'll do giveaways and give away T-shirts and games and horror memorabilia. The next giveaway we have is we're going to give away the David Gordon Green illustrated Halloween book, like the Legend of Halloween. They basically, David Gordon Green took the first movie and did like an illustrated children's book. Well, not really a children's book, but did an illustrated kind of children's book for that film. We'll be giving away a copy of that, so that'll be pretty cool. But we got a lot of stuff coming up. Hopefully people will enjoy it. Hopefully people will subscribe. So check it out. Weekend Horror on YouTube. If you want more information, weekendhorror.net. And of course, you can support both the channels, Weekend Horror and my personal channel. Just hit it up, PayPal. We're on PayPal, or check out our Patreon. We have tiers as low as $1 a month, and you get a shout out on the show. But we give away all kinds of stuff. You get early access, and we have a new tier where we give away movies. You get free horror movies from us every single month. We set physical copies. We send them to you at the top of every month. So I think that one's pretty cool. But other than that, just trying to do it.
Yeah, buddy, go do it. PhD Tony, what do you got coming up? I know you've got some Phil Bell stuff coming up, but what you got?
Well, I've got I'm working on a live stream with Phil Bell on Friday mornings my time, and I'm working on a video on why helium balloons rise. I'm trying to work out how to say flat earthers are idiots more diplomatically, but it's not working for me at the moment. It's it's a bit of a struggle. I'm also working at I have to say for those of you who are on the fence about subscribing to J.L. Warren, he is not as wrong about horror trivia as I have painted him to be. So he is occasionally at least approximately right. So it works.
Well,
do subscribe to him.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Although if you do stump him,
Prepare for saltiness.
Prepare
Well,
for
no,
the
no,
salt.
no. I have set the precedent because we're fallible. We make mistakes, and there have been times when, especially in the social media, because like right now I'm setting up the Daily Splatter for December, and on occasion we will make mistakes. We will we'll take a screen grab or an image from a movie and put it up as another movie that would be incredible. We did that one time with an obscure Danny Trejo horror film, and we thought it was something else. We actually accidentally put up a picture from Hatchet 2 and attributed it to a Danny Trejo film, and obviously that was a mistake. If we make a mistake, like a legit error, like we
Notice
fuck
how
up.
he's saying we, not if I.
Well, I mean, I'm not the only one involved, so.
Yeah, but we're talking about you.
Okay. If I fuck up in the name of Weekend Horror, like a legitimate fuck up, like I didn't know what I was talking about. Anybody who catches it gets a free T-shirt on me, because you deserve that. That means that you are as big a horror fan as I am. If you
So
caught
I should
an
have
error
like
that
10
I
shirts
made,
coming my way then.
and you have not proven me wrong on any that many times. Okay, The Exorcist thing
That many times.
was a 50-50. We were both right. You cited one thing, and I cited the other.
Yes.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
I
but
like about this is the fact that you were both right. But
The
you
funny
are
thing is,
still
though,
so
I never
bitter
said that
about
you
it.
were wrong.
You weren't even fucking wrong, JL. You were.
I never said that you were wrong. Joe.
Okay. Well, hang on a sec. I didn't see a hashtag Johnny was wrong. I saw a hashtag JL was wrong.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
That was damn near trending. Okay? So, yes,
That
I
wasn't
will
me.
be a tad salty. I understand, because I get stuff wrong. Maybe I'll get a year wrong, or I'll get a release date wrong.
You were salty before we were reacting to that.
God damn it, Nerd Angle. Yes, I'm the host of a horror podcast, but I am only human.
But the thing about that particular exchange is I never said that you were wrong. You said that I was wrong.
And you were both right. You were
both right. Yeah.
JL possessed obscure exorcist knowledge that I did not have, and Johnny O possessed obscure exorcist knowledge that I did not have. You are both really good at exorcist obscure knowledge,
which has gotten us very far in the world, by the way.
Yeah. See the fruits of my labor. See the fruits of my labor.
You were demonstrably unhappy about it, but JL, you aren't even advertising the best bit. Actually, yesterday I had the distinct privilege of watching In the Mouth of Madness with JL. And it was a lot of fun. It was hugely... Of course, there were only the two of us there until Commander Darklight showed up, because the rest of you bastards in the chat are useless pricks. But, it's a life choice. If you're comfortable being a useless prick, go for it. But next week, what have you got coming up for us, JL?
Yes, I will. Okay, so what Tony's referring to is that in our Discord community that we're trying to build up, and we hope that everybody gets an opportunity to join it. The links for our Discord are in our YouTube videos. You can come check it out, or just message me. I'm on Discord all the time, so just message me and I'll invite you over. But we have a theater channel in the Discord, and we show horror movies there. So I like to share the horror movies that I have, particular favorites of mine. Tony's referring to the other day, we showed In the Mouth of Madness via our theater. We just sat around, we opened up the channel, and everybody can come in and we can just talk, and we can enjoy the movie for just check it out. And it's a really awesome experience, and we can just talk about the actors and whatever. And the next one we have coming up is going to be The Color Out of Space, starring Nicolas Cage. We're going to be showing that one in the theater. I will make the announcement now showing, so everybody can see it. And so expect films that I really love, like horror films that I dig, and some of them are pretty out there, but they're really cool ones. And I hope to see everybody there. I want to see more people jump in the chat and see the stuff that I love, and I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the color out of night,
The Color Out of Space.
The Color Out of Space. Sorry. is a really fun Lovecraftian film,
Yes.
and Nicolas Cage is quite awesome in it. So yeah,
That's an
it's
oxymoron right there.
what do you mean?
Nicolas Cage is awesome in that.
He was.
Nicolas
Cage being awesome in anything is an oxymoron.
I dispute
Whoa.
this.
Raising Arizona? Come on.
Nope.
Raising
Yeah.
Arizona.
Worst part of the movie.
I'm going to go with Nicolas Cage as a national treasure. See what
National
I did
treasure.
there?
Oh, I see what you did there. Very good, PhD. Tony.
Thank you very much.
Come on. Leaving Las Vegas, National Treasure, Raising Arizona.
All those movies were good in spite of Nicolas Cage.
Mom and Dad.
In spite of.
Mandy.
In spite of.
Color Out of Space.
In spite of.
No, he was amazing in these
It's just
films.
good editing.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you. You know what?
concede-
You want evidence of that? You want evidence of that?
Huh.
Look at Wicker Man. Look what bad editing does to a Nicolas Cage film.
Yeah, well, when Nicolas Cage takes a role where he runs around and punches pagan women and then screams about the bees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never going to end well. There is a channel.
Bees.
There is a YouTube channel called What's Culture, who did a list of 91 Nicolas Cage films from worst to best, and The Wicker Man was nowhere near the bottom of that list.
Whoa. What does
But
that
it
tell you
was
about
also-
Nicolas Cage?
It was also nowhere near the top of that list. He is what he is, which is something like a force of nature. Yes, Clive Wells, the original Wicker Man was
Yes,
Christopher
Christopher
Lee, Rich
Yeah.
Eklund, and Edward Woodward. Yes. Jessica G. Nicolas Cage's The Wicker Man, which was a remake of the Edward Woodward Wicker Man, is the one with the bees in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Not the bees. My eyes.
And I'm going to bring up something here. Really, often actors end up bearing, the brunt of viewer dissatisfaction with script writing.
Or editing.
A scriptwriter wrote that. A director directed it. An editor was happy with that particular take.
Yeah.
Actors end up in a no-win situation where they are doing what they are told to do, and they get fucking shit canned for it. And I think that sort of blaming the actor is a bit myopic. Everybody, there were a lot of decisions that were made before that got on screen for you to watch.
I understand. I
Not
just
to
like
mention
taking the
movies
piss
of
out
that
of
movies
Nick
that
Cage.
level. They go through they go through audience testing. People have watched it before it ever released. I mean,
So what does that tell you about the audience reviews or like the previews and whatnot? When a movie like Wicker Man gets green, not only does it get greenlit, but they get like, okay, cool, we're ready to put that out for a release.
I
You know what?
unfortunately
I'm gonna
think
open
that
up a can of worms that I don't want to open up. We're trying to sign off, and we've been signing off for half an hour now.
No, we haven't. We've been signing off for like 7 minutes.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Well, open up your can of worms. I don't care. It's,
Oh, Clive Wells just saying in the show, like, yes, Hammer horror. There will be nothing like it. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Vincent Price.
Yeah.
Amazing shit.
yeah. Some genuinely amazing filmmaking, but I feel like I am going to defend Nicolas Cage, and I'm going to also dispute against J.L. Warren. I don't actually enjoy Mandy that much. I understand that it is highly thought of, by horror aficionados, and I bought it and I watched it, and I sold it to a secondhand video store because I've, you know,
Did you pick up? Did you pick up on the Greek themes that ran throughout the whole film?
yes, I did. It just not to my taste. Yeah,
Panos Cosmatos is a very unique director with a very stylistic vision, and is evidenced by Beyond the Black Rainbow, which was his first film. If you watch Beyond the Black Rainbow, it offers a lot of insight into what went into Mandy. And I had that knowledge going in beforehand, and then of course, seeing the Greek tragedy playing out, the Greek mythology, Kronos and Rhea, and everything beyond the Gnostic Christians, which were the cult. Stuff like that is really that was captivating to me. That was really interesting. And his army buddy was Janus, and the chemist was Dionysus, and the ambrosia of the gods. And I thought it was just really cool stuff. Not to mention the Kyrie, the Kyries is the spirits of the dead. Those were the bikers. Yeah. So I thought I caught that. I was like, holy shit, this thing is miles deep, and just really cool stuff. But but Panos is kind of a weird guy. His vision is very singular, and I know that how he views something can really put people off. And I'm assuming we're laughing at something in the chat.
Of course.
Yes, I'm laughing at Jessica G, because now that the subject has turned to horror.
Oh God.
What do you think Jessica G is talking about? She is going to fucking hammer this forever.
Okay. To answer Sable Eagle, yes, I have seen Monos, the Hands of Fate. I have seen that. I've seen it both in standard, and I've seen the rip track or the MST3K version of that. But obviously the MST3K hand was funny, just like Monos hands. But yeah, this shit is fucking so bad. I'm Torgo. I watch the house while the master's away. Yeah, whatever. But they apologize for including it. That's hilarious because that episode was fantastic. Tony Regime, Nightbreed is Clive Barker's best horror film. Ooh, that is a point of contention because Nightbreed was so good. But Hellraiser, I think, stands above it. I have to say, the first Hellraiser stands above Nightbreed. I think because there was so much studio bullshit that got in the way of Nightbreed being what Clive Barker wanted. You had studio interference. You had director. You had.
Sorry, JL. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, JL, carry on as though nothing happened.
Man, fuck y'all.
No, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing at Jessica G.
That's right.
Jessica, would you like to just come on the show?
Oh man! All right, so. JL, you've got awesome things going on in the Week in Horror. Definitely get in on that Facebook group to do the Discord group to check out those videos, the movies. That's fun. It's always fun. People talk about I can't go to the movies now because of COVID, whatnot. JL Warren's bringing you the horror films.
We will bring them straight to you.
Even better than that, it's an environment where you can just chat about what's going. I love this scene,
right.
And I really
you get to really nerd out.
Yes, you do get to nerd out. So I'm looking for, if the nerd police aren't there, I'm going to nerd unrepentantly.
Oh fuck yeah! We nerded so hardcore on Mouth in the Mouth of Madness. We nerded out about Sam Neill. We nerded out about John Carpenter. We nerded out just about everything. It was fucking amazing. Okay. Here's some good ones. Jessica G. No, guys, please believe me. Hellraiser 3 has at least 60 people in the credits with the letter J in their name. That makes it one of the greats. Quote, J.L. Warren.
That's what we were laughing at.
Quote, seriously, guys, I'm dead serious, but Hellraiser 3 had a start and an end. That makes it the best ever. Like, come on, J.L. Warren.
Have you considered, J.L., adjusting your position to, okay, it isn't a very good movie, but I like that actress and she's hot?
Hellraiser 3 is not that great of a movie. It's not even in like the top 50 of my favorite horror films. But Terry Farrell is very nice to look at. And I like it when Terry Farrell is kicking ass, both as Jadzia Dax and in Hellraiser 3. Not to mention, Doug Bradley seemed to really enjoy playing that role in that movie, which makes the film enjoyable. You may not agree with that, but we're all entitled to our opinion.
Clive Wells says, "What's all this then?"
Can I get some pepper with my salt?
And Rib Tickler, you're not telling anybody anything they don't already know.
Yeah.
The Thing is my favorite movie ever made. Kurt Russell is even more of a national treasure than Nicolas Cage will ever be.
Tony, have you seen the picture of Kurt Russell from The Thing with his beard removed?
No, I haven't.
Like, so somebody CGI'd out his beard, like took out his beard just so it's just babyface Kurt. It looks so fucking weird.
It probably would. And then, but I am going to say, Kurt Russell. What was he? Oh, he was in fucking Escape from LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And fuck that film. Jesus Christ! If I could kick everybody concerned in the nuts. I waited for ages for that film to go out and to come out, and gee, oh my god!
Escape from Escape from LA, god awful, yes, terrible. Yeah. Snake, that was the worst thing that happened to Snake Plissken.
And it had fucking Bruce Campbell in it. Jesus.
Escape from New York.
Fucked that out. No.
Escape from New York.
Escape from LA had
Bruce but Escape from New York was good.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Cool movie. This is why I was so keen to go see Escape from LA. I missed the opportunity to see Escape from New York in the cinema. Like, I saw the ads and I thought, whoa, that looks really cool. I need to go see that. And I didn't get the opportunity because, I didn't have that much disposable income at the time. But then, I had watched it and Escape from LA was coming. And this time I had the income. I was going to go watch it. I was there opening day in the queue to fucking see this film. And it shat all over me. And I was there.
Yes.
And, it shat over every fucking frame of the original film. And Jesus Christ. And it got Bruce Campbell on and it put him in a crappy fucking role.
Oh God, Jessica G.
Hang on a second. Hang on. We're gonna get there. We're getting there. Hang on. We're gonna get there. I want to address what Tina Jones says. Wasn't Kurt Russell the kid that kicked Elvis in one of his movies? I'm not for certain on that one, but I do know that
it's definitely Applejack.
Was it Applejack?
The computer wore tennis shoes. That was definitely Kurt Russell.
Very good. But I do know that Kurt Russell played Elvis Presley in Forrest Gump.
Was that Kurt Russell?
That's what he was credited as, or I guess unofficially credited as.
Because I know there's a scene where Elvis comes in and Elvis is sitting in the back and he's kind of blurred out, like he's like he's out of focus, and the young Forrest is in the foreground. Was that Kurt Russell?
I'm pretty sure it was Kurt Russell.
Because I know that he played him in 3,000 Miles of Graceland.
Yeah, he was in. Yeah, he was in. He played Elvis Presley.
No, 3,000 Miles to Graceland, he played an Elvis impersonator, right?
Impersonator, that's true, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, Kurt Russell is in the movie. Face doesn't appear on screen. His voice certainly does. For just a few processed seconds, Russell reportedly voiced Elvis Presley during the scene where young Forrest is showing the musician his dance moves while he's staying in the Gump home.
That does not look like...
I don't think it was Kurt Russell's face. I think it was his voice.
Okay, because I'm looking at the images right now. That does not look like Kurt Russell, like, at all.
Yeah, it was his voice.
You want to know my second favorite Kurt Russell film?
Let's see. Let me see if I can guess it.
Executive Decision.
Damn it, no. Come on. Let me see if I can...
Good guess.
Are you serious?
No, it isn't the second one that I...
Okay, let me see. Let me think.
Soldier?
No, I've actually never seen that.
Can't be Breakdown because that movie was garbage.
It is Breakdown.
Really?
I love
Breakdown is a very decent Hitchcockian thriller.
I guess I just didn't like the way that a lot of the stuff was. It was just too neat. You know what I mean?
And that is me to some extent. I'm a very academic, intellectual person, so I like neatness. But Breakdown really appealed to me. I really love Breakdown as a film. But Executive Decision is a fucking solid choice because I love that film too.
Executive Decision did what everybody in the world wanted to do: killed Steven Seagal.
Yeah. Oh, that was fucking brilliant. That was so fucking good.
Yep.
Oh God.
Let's see, Jessica G. Hey, no, this is like the point, guys. You can't argue with this. Hellraiser 3 came after Part 2 and before Part 4. That's legit reasons for an Academy Award. Jessica G. I got my first boner during my visit to see Hellraiser 3 in the theater. The movie is phenomenal. J.L. Warren. Didn't you? You're just pulling these straight from the movie poster, aren't you? Like, if you want to plagiarize the one sheet, I mean, come on.
I see we have Sarcastic Barman in there. Yes, you are used to long outros, aren't you? We have now been 30 minutes into this outro.
Agreed.
Yeah, which suggests that I'm not really committed to this outro. You're trying to do it for my benefit, and I'm just stalling because I'm just enjoying the conversation. But Jessica G has linked what she claims is a photo of Kurt Russell on screen with Elvis Presley in 1962.
Was with Elvis Presley in 62. Wow.
That's what she's saying. So Elvis, Kurt Russell was a kid in an Elvis film. That's pretty fucking spectacular.
I'm going to play you in a movie someday and voice you in a separate movie and play an Elvis impersonator of you in another movie. Yeah,
you are completely redundant, Elvis. Fuck off.
There we go. Fuck off, Elvis. You heard it here from PhD Tony.
Well.
All right, so PhD Tony, you have a video about helium balloon. Now,
nothing of worth.
The fact that you have to make a video about helium balloons explaining why they go up is all you need to know about the Flat Earth movement.
It is something. Yeah, I've gotten to the point where the claim that helium balloons go up disproves gravity, which is the flat Earth claim, right? The helium balloons go up, so therefore gravity doesn't exist. Is exactly the same as Olympic weightlifters lift heavy weights, therefore gravity doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Really? That's your fucking argument, is it? This is the level of intellectual discourse we've descended to, is it? Right? Okay. Planes take off and land into the wind. Therefore, wind doesn't exert a force. Ships can go against the current. Therefore, currents don't exert a force. This is where we fucking are, is it?
Yeah.
And it was at that point in the video that I decided I needed to take a little break. Sarcastic Barman does bring up one of the greatest films ever made in Big Trouble in Little China. If we're talking about Kurt Russell, absolutely. Yes.
That's great. What's in it? Egg, wind, fire, all that sort of thing. I'm feeling pretty good, I'm
feeling kind of invincible.
Yeah. Yes, I have a very positive feeling about this. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me?
All right, on the plot hole I've got.
I used that line earlier today. I'm going to fucking tell this story. And I don't know why I'm going to tell this story, why I made an effort, but I was watching the MMA earlier today, and there were two women who ended up in basically 69 position And my first thought was, is it warm in here or is it just me? Anyway,
All
sorry.
right.
Oh, just the
I'm a juvenile.
That's all right. We all are.
All the Chinese hells is just amazing. It's like
It is.
they'll be sent to the hell of the and they'll be sent to the hell of the boiling oils. What the
Yes.
hell? The Chinese got a lot of hells.
Oh lordy.
You
So,
are not
yeah,
put upon this
Look, here's the
world to
thing.
get-
If you guys want hours and hours of entertainment, subscribe to these other guys' channels. Subscribe to my channel. Irish Demon, not so much. I'm kidding.
Not so much.
I'm kidding.
He is kind of boring. No, he's not kidding. He is kind of boring. Trust me.
I've got unpopular opinions coming out tomorrow. I'm going to start. So every year, my kids and I, we do the Salvation Army Angel Tree thing for underprivileged kiddos. So I thought maybe this year what I would do is I would include all of the new Plot Hole family in that. So I think I'm going to start a fundraiser. And everybody who donates to that fundraiser, we will, of course, take that and do the Salvation Army Angel Tree thing. So if you like, let me know. Shoot me an email, plothole1@gmail.com, and we'll figure out if you want to, if and what, all that bullshit. Let's see here. Oh, even Sarcastic Barman's on the old Z's with PhD Tony. Golly.
Damn.
Oh. Well, PhD Tony, I find what you have to say
riveting like an Ambien.
Oh,
Well,
geez,
as
riveting
it
like an
happens,
Ambien.
I have some rivets right here.
Riveting
Let
like
me
an
give
Ambien.
you some.
Riveting like an Ambien in a glass of whiskey.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Anyway, next week we are going to be on PhD Tony's channel, so do make sure you follow all of us. Subscribe to all of us so you don't miss any of the shows. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see here. December 18th on the Plot Hole. It's rockmetaltalk.com. I'll have live concert for Christmas. Whitney Raquel and band. Should be a lot of fun. What else I got coming up?
Whitney Raquel is astonishing. She's a very talented
She is.
lady.
Yeah, she is. She is. She has an excellent voice. And she's just fun to talk to.
She is fun to talk to, and I feel deeply conflicted about the video she put out. Because she bends over in that van, and you can see straight down the cleavage, and you're just going, "Oh God, no, I'm a horrible human being."
Oh boy.
She's a talented, intelligent person. I'm horrible.
Yep.
Or you're human, because
You're
I've
human.
admitted it freely. Now I'm a little concerned because I promised Johnny O that I would help out on this thing, and that means I'll be in the same room with her while she's live, and I'm gonna be like holding the camera, going.
But there are going to be other people here as well. So
Make sure she doesn't bend over. That's all I ask. Don't bend her over at 90 degrees, and we
Jesus
can all be
Christ.
good.
What are we doing here? Everybody say goodbye. It's time to get the out of here.
Bye.